Alright, hello YouTube. This is going to be the second semifinals of the 2v2 World Cup. Norway with MBL and Viper versus Spain with TaToH and LAN. One of the most debated matchups of the recent week. You can see that my prediction for this one is Norway winning 4-3, but I wouldn't be surprised on any outcome for this series. Spain has shown extremely good teamwork over the course of the entire tournament. Norway has shown exceptional individual skill for both players, but a little bit less teamwork than you would expect from them. We'll see if Viper and MBL can now get some more teamwork out of themselves, and if they can, they should be very, very, very competitive against TaToH and LAN. It's gonna be an interesting set to watch because I still believe that Spain is going to have the more team chemistry, but Norway is going to have the more individual skill. We'll see which prevails in this 2v2. We have the civilization and map drafts already in. Norway is picking Nomad, Ghost Lake, Valley with a ban on Arena. Spain is going for Scandinavia, Team Acropolis, and Chaos Pit with a ban on Golden Pit. The draft is as follows. You're going to have Saracens and Gods global ban. The snipe from Norway is on Mayans, which means that Khmer is available for Spain. I really like that you have the first two saves, Mayans and Khmer, for Spain like this, because it is by far some of the most banned saves. Khmer have been banned 20 times and sniped 10 times, Mayans 8 and 17. If you combine the two, that's 30 and 25. Some of the most banned slash sniped civilizations in the tournament, both available for Spain, which means that the only option for Norway was to ban out whatever they hate more, and they hate Obsidian Arrows more than they hate the Khmer. So we'll see how things roll out over here, and I guess we're gonna be getting ready to jump into game number 1. According to Robo, the first game is going to be planned to start in about a minute. We'll see if that actually happens or not. Viper and MBL are already in the lobby. They'll be playing cold colors, so blue and green. And their opponents will be LAN and TaToH playing yellow and red. So while we're actually waiting for players to arrive, let's take a brief look at the drafts once again. So I feel like I can allocate all of these civilizations to each of the maps in a manner that is fairly reasonable. So you don't really have to struggle for civilization for any of these maps. The mind games here is going to be interesting. Like Mongols available for Scandi for Spain could be counterpicked by Berbers by Norway, but maybe we are going to see Spain bringing in Italians to try and battle the Camel Archers. So we'll see how that happens over there. A lot of mind game potential, I believe, with these civs. I don't think either of the teams actually have an advantage from the draft, so it's fairly balanced. Norway has quite a lot of good cavalry civs like Indians, Persians, Berbers, Huns, Magyars, Franks. Bulgarians are also reasonable as cavalry civ. That leaves them with 7, just what they need. Malians could work quite well as a cavalry civ as well. Chinese can work out as well, but you're going to have Malay, Byzantines, Chinese, Vikings, Ethiopians, and Aztecs as your archer civs, and Burmese is going to be the odd civ out because that goes for Nomad, and on Nomad you don't need the traditional archer civ. You're completely fine with Burmese. Alright. Let's see what's up here, and we are having the lobby filled with players, so indeed, Robo is going to be right about the start. It is probably going to happen in a couple of minutes. Once again, my prediction is 4-3 for Norway. If I had to break it down map by map, we could do that as well. Map by map breakdown. I would say Arabia for Norway. Nomad for Norway. Scandi for Norway. But Ghost Lake for Spain. Team Acropolis for Spain, Chaos Pit for Spain, and the Valley for Norway. The last two could actually be flipped around, so I can see Valley being taken by Spain and Chaos Pit by Norway. But that's basically a breakdown of my 4-3 prediction, seeing the draft. Of course, these predictions were made by me a couple of hours ago when I didn't see the draft. But Now that I see the Civilization draft, this is my estimation on how this series is gonna go. The winner gets into the grand finals that is being played from sometime later tomorrow. We don't know the exact time because it's going to be preceded by the third place match. The third place match will start tomorrow, 15 GMT. And after the third place match, we are going to have the grand finals of 2v2 World Cup. So, probably, Robo is saying players are slow in the casters Discord. So that's why we haven't started yet. Indeed, we should be in the game for like 2 minutes now. But, well, at least you can spend some quality time with me analyzing drafts and whatnot. I think it's worth checking out the overall tournament stats while we're waiting over here, because now we have a good sample size. Let's take a look at win rates. Bulgarians boasting of 100% win rate, only 2 picks only. And Khmer, you see why they're banned so frequently. That 71% win rate is actually pretty outstanding for them. Chinese boasting a very, very good win rate, 67%. 22 games out of 33 were actually won by the Chinese. Burmese, kind of disappointing over there. On the other side, Spanish, which is the other popular Nomad pick, 54%, so seems like Spanish is having an easier time on Nomad than Burmese do. Slavs having an amazing win rate here. 23 wins, just 9 losses. 72% is one of the best in a tournament. In fact, it is surpassing the Khmer win rate. But it's just a narrow margin, but still. Even Slavs being comparable to Khmer is already a huge thing. And it actually shows how aggressive these maps are, because Slavs are lacking Paladin. If games would frequently go to a stage where Paladin becomes a factor, Slavs would have a much lower win rate. So this number over here signifies that Slavs are good in this one because the maps are very aggressive. And usually games are decided before Paladin would become a factor. Nice little win rates for Italians and Japanese over here. Byzantines also nice low win rate. Lowest win rates, Aztecs, no surprise. As I said, Aztecs 2v2 scenario, they're just pretty bad as an archer civ. They don't have Thumbring, and their eco isn't particularly super, like, it's great eco, but it's not something that is gonna compensate for lack of Thumbring. And you might actually be better off with a civ like Portuguese that has cheaper archers on gold cost, for example. Britain's kind of lackluster as well a tiny bit. Burmese, kind of disappointing, 38% only. Cumans, it's always a tricky save. I feel like Cumans are picked quite frequently by players that have an idea with them, but not necessarily able to execute it, or that idea is just wrong. So Cumans always have a kind of mediocre win rate, because in good hands, Cumans are amazing. In not so good hands, they're not so much. 39% for Indians. I actually frequently said that Indians are very overrated in 2v2 scenarios of cavalry civ, and that shows over here. Koreans only played once so far. We're going to see them in this one, and the Turks is the only civ that we're not going to see drafted today. Turks only drafted twice. Koreans at least 6 times. Bulgarians, you can see the 3 weakest or lowest drafted civilizations. Pretty outstanding from that. Anyways, according to Robo, the game has started, so we can jump into game number 1 over here. And we just have 1 more minute of spectator delay to wait. And guess what? Tatars for TaToH here as well. Not something that is completely unknown to the viewers today, let's be honest. I don't really want to talk about the previous series because, if someone is watching on YouTube and maybe watching this one first and then wants to watch the Brazil versus China one, I don't want to spoil anything. But Tatars, not the first time that we are seeing it on Arabia. We'll see if it works out for TaToH or LAN. Teutons, this is a very, very interesting and questionable game plan for TaToH and LAN. We have seen that TaToH and LAN aren't shying away from going into games with weird, unique, new game plans. Tatars and Teutons is definitely something. And the main weakness that Teutons will suffer from is speed. Because their knights are going to be strong, but slow. So we'll see how TaToH and LAN are going to use that. On the other side, Viper and MBL will have Huns and Chinese available to them. So Chinese is a very, very good archer civ. Sometimes it's used as a cavalry civ, and I really like the versatility of this civilization. But for now, we're gonna have Norway on the south in blue as Huns for Viper, Chinese for MBL in green. You're gonna have Lan as yellow Teutons, and left side is going to be Tatars for TaToH in red, with what is a kind of disappointing map for him. Forward berries, forward gold, also very, very close to Viper's base. So this is a bad map for TaToH. The wood lines aren't amazing. The only thing that is actually good here is the stone, but that doesn't really matter. So this is a pretty bad map for TaToH over here. I just don't like it so much. I mean, you could make an argument for walling it off like this, to be honest. Because if you do this, like, it might be easier than to just wall in front like that, because you will need some gold, and you kind of have to protect this gold mine no matter what. Other option would be to give up on this gold temporarily, and wall this, and wall something like this in between this gold and this wood. Now, one thing that is gonna help TaToH here is that his opponent, he's up against the Hunnic player that's gonna play the cavalry role. So you can technically wall using that gold and mine it still, because the scouts will not be able to hit it. It appears that both Spanish players are going very aggressive with the scouting, or pinging the opponent's town center locations over here to their respective teammate. And while we're looking at this, let's take a look at Viper's base, which is also quite open from the right side. Gold mine isn't so great for him. Wood lines are actually acceptable. Berries are nice as well, but this gold is actually pretty bad for a snake. We have MBL with a nice little wood line in the front, blocking quite a lot of entry into his base, and MBL's got a beautiful base, honestly. The back side is a little bit open, but you can just wall like this, and then maybe wall to the TC like this. It takes some work, but you have a safe goal at the back, another goal that you can protect if you make your buildings here, and relatively safe wood line. Berries are nice. MBL's got a nice little map over here. And you got Lan with what is an acceptable-ish map. A little bit open on the left side once again, but not impossible to wall. Wallable on the right side. Gold is something that can be relatively easily defended. I don't like the fact that he has a hill in front of his base, especially considering that he's up against the archer player. So I could see MBL just trying to camp on this hill and trying to pressure the gold mine in the future. It appears that MBL is gonna send his scout towards the base of TaToH as well. Boar laming with scouts isn't allowed, or well, in this case elephant laming. But they could try blocking villagers, and two scouts over here could be a signal that, you know, Norway is trying to get some villager kills early on. So at the end of the day, none of the players actually have an amazing map for themselves, but not something that they have to be sad about either. MBL going for some heavy walls, something that you would expect from him. Lan isn't going to be able to kill that villager because that villager does have a loom, and indeed they're hunting for vills here. TaToH, he's going to have to grab loom here, and that's an empty wood line. Number one villager is already killed by Norway over here. Remember, Norway, when they played against Thrasher last week, they went full-on laming mode. Like, they lamed like 4 goats from Dark and then killed 2 or 3 villagers. So they're playing extremely aggressive over here. TaToH is gonna lose 1 villager at the beginning of the game to this aggression. And this really shows that Norway is taking it seriously. They know exactly they can't necessarily afford to just let TaToH play untouched. And that 1 villager kill is already a huge thing. And in the meanwhile, as I said, MBL is just gonna vault like this, and probably like this. It's going to be a pre-milled rush, but its timing is a little bit later than usual pre-milled rushes, so at the end of the day, by the time the militias arrive, it's going to be like a standard rush for MBL. Lan did scout that barrack, so he knows exactly what is coming, and I wonder if TaToH is planning a Drush FC himself. He's taking 10 gold, so it's definitely a Drush play. It's a matter of Drush FC or Drush into archers. With this type of a map, you probably prefer Drush archers. And especially if TaToH is able to pick off a villager from Viper here, that could be nice. Unable to kill that vill, but delays the walls for the time being. Viper now has loom on his villagers, so that scout isn't going to be able to kill any more vills, but might be able to harass and just keep the holes open over here. So one thing that an archer player could do with the Drush archers is that you go Drush, then you follow it up with archers and the spear and go for a cavalry player, because your opponent's archer civ will be kind of far away. So in a Archer versus cavalry matchup, that's exactly what you're playing. You add a spearman to your forces when you're playing with the archers. Anyways, militias will be coming in here. Lan is going to eat some damage on that scout, but those two scouts could actually gang up on Viper. Scout Viper, nice quick gate over here. Militias are on the way. And for now, Lan is going to have to run away from this one. MBL also has a Drush coming, and the Drush is actually directly towards TaToH and not Lan, interestingly. Lan is going to be evolved here to a certain extent, but apparently they want to double TaToH over here. They feel like TaToH is the strongest player on the opponent's team, so they want to make sure that he's the one taking the punishment and then force Lan to carry the game. Militias will have an easy time walking into the base of Viper for now. And Viper, he is playing 21 pop scouts, as standard as it can possibly be. We'll drop the stable over there. And let's see if those militias can actually do something. MBL is here with his scout and he's trying to block the wall foundations. MBL is being so annoying here. MBL is being so annoying. They're trying to kill that scout, but oh, MBL, he is just so crazy when it comes to just being annoying. Like, for 99% of the players in the AoE community, that would have been a full wall, and militias not getting inside. For MBL, he was like, okay, I'm getting these militias in, no matter what. Fun fact, he could have just walked all the way around here, no matter what. Now, TaToH will probably need to gate this one out, because, I mean, once again, those palisades aren't gonna go up. And that means that TaToH has to evacuate his barriers. This is looking extremely good for Norway. And I mean, yes, there are some militias here from TaToH hitting the barriers of Viper as well. But I mean, TaToH is suffering from a lot more pressure right now. And TaToH could lose another villager. MBL is just so much on point. And this is what we talked about. Teamwork for Spain or the individual skill of Norway. And so far, it turns out that the individual skill is looking better for Norway. They take 2 villagers away from TaToH. And remember, TaToH also lost his scout, so that's why you see 3 units killed here. They're trying to pressure the food eco of Viper, but that's not really happening, and Viper is gonna clean this one up. Lan coming in with his own scouts a little bit late, if you ask me. Not sure what happened here to Lan. Viper, 25 villagers. Lan, same thing as well. TaToH and MBL, none of them actually have clicked up. And I think that the only reason why TaToH isn't gonna get punished very hard for losing 2 villagers over here and pretty much getting his Drush FC crippled is because MBL is also doing a Drush FC. So MBL is not gonna have that much better cast stage time, even though if you compare, MBL clicked up a lot faster field age. He's gonna destroy the mill because he has nothing else that is better to do. Completely fine in this scenario. Just make sure that your opponent isn't able to access those barriers and delay them as much as possible. And with the mill denied and no barriers income, TaToH down by 2 villagers, that is going to be a very, very hard FC for TaToH to do. Like, if you look at his food count right now, he's at 173. That's by far not enough. He's got 5 on gold, so my take on this is probably that he's gonna try and go market. Like, go heavy on wood and gold. Go market blacksmith, buy himself up to castle age, and then add the archer range later. Or he could do archer range and market, and then add the blacksmith later. Because he's gonna be a little bit low on food. Or he needs to spend a little bit more time in feudal, but MBL has already clicked up to castle age, and that's sick. MBL has already clicked up to castle age, and Viper will be fully evolved. Scouts from Lan isn't really going to do any damage. And just look at how much damage TaToH suffered from just that Drush. Maybe it was a bit overly ambitious to roll like this and this, because that's probably was the plan. And TaToH is adding villagers to stone, somewhat surprisingly. Interesting idea. What is he up to? Is he planning to go defensive towers on his gold mine? I could see that happening. Now, scouts from Viper are in here, and they could potentially run past the TC if they wish to. I would love to see a spearman from TaToH, just to make sure that those guys don't run into his eco. It would be so, so crucial. For now, Lan isn't able to break in here, so he could just help out TaToH. If you can't break into your opponent's base, just bring your scouts to your teammate, and try to clean up the Drush, try to clean up the scouts, so that your teammate has an easier time playing. And as I said, TaToH doesn't have the food to click up here. He's gonna have to idle his TC for so long, and he doesn't have the food, even, like, despite the fact that he was actually Tatar, so he has longer lasting sheep. If he was any other civ, it would be even worse. But losing the berries like that, losing 2 villagers like that is gonna have an impact like this on your economy. And if you look at MBL, he is already bringing in the spears and archers. He's just playing non-stop. Non-stop aggression from MBL, and really, Viper is playing good here. But MBL has been playing so amazing in this game so far. The amount of micro that he did with the Drush, being able to kill that wheel. He was the one that blocked the wheel for Viper to kill. And he's gonna have a crystal clean Drush FC in a Drush where he killed 2 villagers. And now the crossbows will be coming in. TaToH is just about to click into Castle Age here. He is making a defensive tower on his stone mine. But, I mean, from this point on, MBL will just chill on that gold mine and it's GG. And that's the real scare here for Spain. TaToH's gonna get a watchtower up on his gold, so that's exactly why he started mining gold. But I mean, he's still far away from Castle Age, and he's gonna be the last player coming up. His Drush FC was delayed so hard that he's the last player getting up to Castle Age. And Viper with Huns, he is on 2 stables for time being, not really pressured by a massive margin. He's got no upgrades. Len actually went for +1 defense and Bloodline, so that delayed his Castle Age a tiny bit, but he's got cheaper farms, so he's still having a better Castle Age time than Viper does, and his Knights will be better in terms of combat capabilities, but the speed is going to be a little bit worse for Lan's Knights. Anyways, let's see if MBL can find an angle where he can hit that gold mine from. The tower only has 8 range, crossbows have 7, and MBL is going for the wood line. Look at this mass migration TaToH has to just do here, and Viper is coming back with the scouts just in time. If he can intercept the archers and get some kills on them or get a few villager kills, it's gonna be jackpot. And I feel like Spain is in a huge trouble here. Like massive, massive trouble right now for Spain. Another defensive tower on TaToH, and I feel like MBL is playing 2 TC boom here, just massing more and more crossbows back at home, and look at how annoying he is. Moves in, picks off 1 wheel, and then moves out. If you look at the villager count, MBL is gonna have 43, TaToH is gonna have 35, which is 8 villagers advantage for MBL. That is not all from the extra villagers that you get with Chinese, by far. Viper sending his scouts towards the base of Lan. Lan is fully walled, and he's taking this safe gold mine for time being, but he's only 1 TC. Viper is gonna go for a very greedy approach. So Viper is playing 3 TCs. I feel like you can afford it when TaToH has taken a significant beating like that, because you're gonna have a way better eco over time. Viper is gonna have +1 defense only for time being, +2 is coming in, and let's see if MBL can pick off some villagers on that wood line as well. University for ballistics coming in for TaToH. Remember, he has the free thumb ring, so he could still pack a punch with those crossbows, but I feel like once Viper's TCs are up, I don't see TaToH being able to kill a lot of villagers from Viper. Meanwhile, MBL looping around, and he could hit that wood line so well. Lan's got some Teuton Knights over here that could actually clean this one up. So MBL will probably just try to dive in and pick off some villagers. There are some low HP vills here. 1 villager goes down, 2 villagers go down. That's perfect value once again for MBL. He's gonna lose the crossbows, but he knows that. But when you can trade 5 crossbows and 3 militias to 2 villagers, it's actually very nice. TaToH is down to 35 villagers, because now the Knights are also breaking into his eco here, something that he wasn't able to pay attention for. TaToH right now has like virtually no economy, which prevents him from making archers. Now that being said, he's able to counterattack Viper. The problem is, how much can he achieve with just this crossbows? Because that's all he has. And meanwhile, Viper is slaughtering TaToH here. This is game over, because Viper is actually the same villager count as Lan, and TaToH is just absolutely dead. 28 vills, and MBL is gonna have a big blob of crossbows coming in very soon, with thumb ring as well. So they can just go in and pick off what is left of TaToH's economy. TaToH does have a few crossbows on the field, but that could get cleaned up pretty easily. And remember that Lan is going for a triple stable 1 TC build. So they want to play this aggressive, and that's probably the reason why they went for Tatars. Free thumb ring, so very aggressive, triple stable Teutons, so you have the melee armor as an extra, and then Tatars with thumb ring, so you have the rate of fire extra. But that doesn't work when TaToH is losing that many villagers. That being said, that's still quite a lot of knights to deal with, MBL just arriving with the crossbows. Once he's here, I don't see Spain doing enough damage to justify the tremendous eco deficit that they are suffering from. Like, they combined for 75 villagers. MBL alone has 61, and Viper also is there with 48. Knights will have +1, +2, but that's also 1 extra melee armor for the Teuton Knights. MBL is gonna have all the upgrades on University. Actually, he has ballistics and tumbling, but no armor. TaToH does have crossbows, and he's getting back, but I mean, TaToH is 32 villagers. MBL can just flood the map with crossbows easier. A lot easier, actually. And the problem is that Viper behind this one is booming. So, at some point, Viper is going to be able to unleash a lot more cavalry, just because he's got a way better eco. As TaToH is trying to capitalize on the Tatar heal bonus here, by the way. So, they're holding the hill. Towering is there for both players. There was no ballistics for TaToH. So, even though he got the University up, he lost so many villagers that he wasn't able to squeeze in ballistics. That's why they're waiting right now. Also trying to use the hill. And Viper is moving out towards TaToH's base. This is tricky, because Viper's base is a little bit exposed, and those knights from land could run inside, but simultaneously, Viper could run into TaToH's eco. This is super tricky, and I feel like at this point, if you are Spain, you want to commit to killing Viper. Try to kill Viper and hope that your cavalry player will be superior than the opponent's archer player. Because we have seen this so many times that the cavalry player seems to be a lot more important than the archer's player. So if you can actually do quite a lot of damage to Viper here, which is going to be hard, TaToH is pretty much dead here. So TaToH is going to go down to like 20-ish villagers. But if you can inflict similar damage to Viper, like those crossbows killing villagers over there, and you even see the knights diving to kill the TC, if you can actually make Viper go down to like 40-ish villagers himself, it might be enough for Lan to carry this game with a cavalry civ. It's tricky because Lan has a lot of knights on the field. TaToH is down to 21 villagers though. And the main problem is that Lan is also behind compared to Viper. They have to kill a lot of vills here to make this one happen. Like an awful lot of vills. Because the problem is that MBL is at 81 vills, so he could just easily sling Viper back into good eco and good knight numbers, whereas TaToH isn't gonna be a factor anytime soon. I would love to see Lan sending a few knights in to intercept the reinforcements of MBL, because MBL camping beneath the TCs will actually prevent Lan and TaToH from doing more damage to Viper's eco. I would have preferred if this TC is killed, because this helps Viper reboom a tiny bit. And now, seeing what I see with the ecos and MBL has more villagers alone than the two enemies combined, I feel like this is a game that Norway should convincingly win. MBL, if he cancels out some of those units over there, he could click into Imperial right away, but instead he gets a little bit more numbers, delays his imp a tiny bit, but he's gonna be the first one to Imperial and get to Arbalest, I can assure you that. So, it's basically now kill MBL type of a game, and they could still do that. That's a lot of knights. That's an awful lot of knights that could go into MBL's base, and there are some Tatar crossbows that could just try to at least do some sort of damage. Viper is heavy on stone over here, so he wants defensive castle, rewalls his base for the time being, iron casting on the way for Lan, who is still playing 1 TC. TaToH trying to get some crossbows out on the field, I actually like that. And it appears that they're gonna go back and just try a different angle. That's a lot of knights. That's a huge amount of knights. And I feel like I like that Spain is committing to this, because they can win this, especially with the crossbow reinforcements coming in. And don't underestimate the Teuton Knight Flood. Never underestimate them. And suddenly, as weird as it sounds, like TaToH is dead, but I mean, he's able to get some crossbows out on the field. And if Viper takes significant damage here, and he could lose a lot of villagers. That TC is filled with vills, I believe. If those unpop, that could be minus 15 vills for Viper, and he could fall down in eco quite heavily as well. So the real question is, can MBL carry this one with Arbs? Because if he gets to Arbalest numbers, while Lan still has knights, he can win this game. If MBL loses his crossbows here though, it's going to delay his push with Arbalest, and remember that these are not Obsidian Arrow Arbs, so you can't just destroy buildings with them. You kind of have to kill villagers, an army with it, and you can always run away from the knights. Is Spain gonna turn this around? Viper is taking so much damage, and imagine if this TC was destroyed already. Viper would be down to 1 TC. Viper is trying to reboom in this one, but let's be honest, Viper is at 1 Voyager on food. And MBL now teching into Pikeman. And if you look at the Voyager count, suddenly it's not as bad, to be honest, especially if Viper loses 10 more vills here. If Viper loses 10 vills here, he's gonna be at 34, and TaToH is gonna be at 29, and as I said, you don't want to lose these crossbow numbers if you're MBL. Because if you lose these crossbows, you're not gonna have the orbs out on the field. Nice choke point over there for MBL to take that fight at. Meanwhile, like, TaToH is actually not in an awful spot, and honestly, if MBL loses all those crossbows, that's a disaster for Norway. This is definitely a fight that Spain has to commit to. They're trying to jump into the TC of Viper, but if the crossbows jump in there, the Voyagers are gonna get killed, and MBL is down to 40 military. This will be the time where you push MBL with that big blob of knights. You could dive in and pretty much cripple MBL's eco. MBL's teching into Pikeman. How is the imp timing looking like for LAN? Not even close. TaToH is 1 TC, still not a factor. The main concern for Spain right now is that MBL is an imp, and even more so that Viper is having 3 TCs to reboom with, TaToH is having just 1. So it's a now or never type of scenario. You dive in with all those knights, it's a lot of knights. 45 knights, you can just run into the eco of MBL and kill like 50 Voyagers without having any problems. So if MBL loses like 50 vills here, which is definitely a possibility, it could still potentially happen for Spain, but they need to hit this part of MBL's eco. Being able to just kill a TC here isn't gonna help you out by any means. And what's the plan for Spain? They're trying to get the LAN into Imperial. The problem is that MBL's already in Imperial. Luckily for Spain, MBL doesn't have huge Arbalest numbers. So they could just run away from this one. And, well, this is not a fight that you want to take. Maybe with the hill advantage of Tatars you could actually try, but this is an inefficient fight and LAN wants to imp. So if you want to imp, you don't want to throw away an army like that. Those Orbs have Bracer and +2 defense. This is not a fight that you want. Not the type of a fight you want. You are going to take that anyways, and LAN is still having a huge amount of knights on the field, but a lot of them are very, very low in HP. And the real question is, how are they going to stop MBL's Halberdiers? MBL is slowly teching into hubs, which buys some time for LAN, who still hasn't clicked up. Is he missing buildings? Oh yeah, he was missing buildings. That delays him quite heavily. Goes for a back TC age up. Viper is back to 63 vills. That's the problem. That Viper, who is the weakest, or the weaker right now in terms of economy compared to MBL, he still has more Voyagers, or at least comparable Voyagers to LAN. TaToH, I think, is just full slinging right now, but TaToH's eco is so weak. Like, slinging with 30 Voyagers is like barely something. And I feel like what LAN would need is defensive castles on the gold mine. Like, defensive tower isn't going to stop this one right now. That being said, Teuton Knights, especially with the extra melee armor, could actually prove to be useful here. Because they will be able to beat Viper's Knights. And what's even more important is that MBL is going to be on hubs, but Halberdiers are slow, Arbalests are slow, and Spain could raid their way back into the game with the Teuton Cavalier. This could still happen for Spain. And the reason why is because if MBL just goes for Halberdier, they will be outrun by these knights. For MBL, the appropriate play would be either to kill LAN, like, massively, before the Cavaliers show up, which is something that he's doing right now, or Heavy Camel. Heavy Camel would work just as perfectly for MBL. LAN is gonna get a castle in his face, but LAN's got a huge army. 46 Cavaliers is no joke. But you don't want to take that fight. I don't like this for LAN. He's committing to a fight that he isn't really gonna win. That castle is gonna go up nonetheless, and he's throwing away an army that could have been very, very useful to... Oh, even the knights are not attacking. That was awful for LAN. This decision might cost them the game here. Because this castle doesn't change a lot for LAN. Now that does. That castle definitely does. So that's something that you want to stop. But now he's imp. He needs Cavalier. He needs +4 defense. Coinage for MBL. So he's going to sling Viper into cavalry numbers here. This is a cleanup. And I feel like once again we are seeing that too much damage was done to TaToH. for Spain to overcome this. There's just too much damage. That being said, there is still one win condition for Spain, and that is if you can get those Cavaliers into MBL's eco now. Because those Cavaliers would absolutely rampage everything that MBL has here. Yes, the castle's gonna go up here, sure. But Teuton Cavalry now will have 6 melee armor, so they easily clap Viper's Knights. And they will also be pretty decent at cleaning up archers. And it seems like we are gonna have +4 defense arriving for Lan. He's missing Blast Furnace as well, I believe. But here are the Cavalier. And as I said, if you can knock MBL out of the game, you can actually make this very competitive. Because Viper is not there just yet. Viper is Castle Age. And Viper's Castle Age army isn't going to beat the Imperial Age army of Lan. Lan is heavy on stone, will try to get a defensive castle for himself, but here come the Arbs. So that could be some villagers killed. However, as I said, if you can actually hit MBL's eco, it could happen, but TaToH taps out. Interesting time to tap out of this one, to be honest. Because, honestly, I feel like they could have actually tried getting into MBL's eco here. TaToH just took too much damage, I feel like. Like, going down to 21 whales is not something you can come back from. Maybe if he had the same amount of TCs that Viper did, and that was the difference between two players. Viper took a lot of damage as well, but Viper was always 3 TCs at minimum, so it was easier for him to reboom, and now I see why the Imp was there, or why the Resign was there. Because Viper is an Imp, and he's gonna have Cavalier as well. And in that case, it's a completely legitimate Resign. Although I feel like if they get into MBL's eco here and kill a bunch of wheels, it could have been completely different. But it appears that this is the type of scenario where this game was just too far gone for Spain. TaToH lost a lot of villagers with the Drush, and then the follow-up was perfect for MBL. MBL just pretty much massacred TaToH in the first part of the game, and even though I feel like in the second part of the game, Lan and TaToH made the right moves to try and come back, it's just a matter of MBL was pretty much untouched for the majority of the game, whereas TaToH just suffered from so much. I mean, if you look at his overall share of the world population, you can clearly see that he wasn't really a factor for the majority of the game. And even when Viper's lowest villager count was there, it was the same as TaToH's one, but Viper was able to boom back a lot faster than TaToH was able to. And that brings us to the conclusion of game number 1. Spain has shown very good signs of game plan and gameplay skills, but this is what I was a little bit scared about when I was looking at that series, that I feel like MBL and Viper are just better individual players, and if you can make individual outstanding plays like what MBL did with the Drush, for example, and blocking the wheels, then those can swing the outcome of this series massively in favor of Norway. Franks and Chinese are gone for Norway, and Teutons and Tatars are gone for Spain. And with that, we are probably going to go to one of the home maps of Spain, Scandi, Acropolis, or Chaos Pit. We'll see what the plan is for the Spanish team over here. If we go to Scandi, we are probably going to see Mongols and something like Japanese, maybe Italians. Other side, Berbers and Persians seems like the most legitimate pick for Scandi. For Norway, Team Acropolis could be interesting to look at. I actually anticipated Tatars to be used there, but it's not there yet. Cumans could be a nice idea, but it's also a little bit dangerous, as we have seen, I think, in the China versus Finland games. I'm not sure if it was China, but it was Finland trying Cumans on Team Acropolis. Or we could go Chaos Pit. I don't think Spain is going to go Chaos Pit just now. It might be their YOLO map if they are down by multiple games. So if they are like down 3-0, they might just go YOLO Chaos Pit. We'll see if that's the case. But I don't actually recommend Chaos Pit to be your second map. Because it's... I told this so many times. Chaos Pit is basically like a coin flip. It could go either way depending on how individual micro scenarios happen. There are so many things that could be a variable factor in Chaos Pit. So because of that, I feel like Chaos Pit is not something that you want to be your second map. But who am I to tell? Spain is going for Chaos Pit. So let's see what our Spanish team has in store for us for Chaos Pit. Robo has left the lobby, so I guess they will be jumping into the game in a matter of moments. So Chaos Pit. Chaos Pit is probably Magyars. Maybe Bulgarians could be reasonable here. Maybe Aztecs. Why did I cross out Franks? You have Hans used up. So Franks and Magyars could actually work out as well, like a double scouts play on Chaos Pit for Norway. And that would be like, Franks and Magyars are potentially the two strongest... I need to restart my game. Oh, shoot. So, Franks and Magyars are potentially the two best cavalry civs for Chaos Pit. You get the extra attack for Magyars, you get the extra HP for Franks. The third best is probably Teutons because you have the good defensive towers and then you have cheaper farms. But yeah, Magyars and Franks could actually be a very reasonable combination here for our Norway team. And we're gonna have game number 2 coming up in a matter of moments. I'm not a big fan of the Chaos Pit pick here, because if things go wrong, and on Chaos Pit things can always go wrong, they could be down by 2 games, and that's not ideal for Spain. And Norway was actually very, very aggressive and very, very good with the early micro. So it's going to be tricky for Spain to really capitalize on this Chaos Pit and chaotic type of a play. The other thing I don't like about this is that on Chaos Pit, you can actually go and do some heavy laming, like kill the opponent's huntables, wall in their stones. That is good if your opponent doesn't have a restart. But in this case, if you just go heavy laming, your opponent is going to call their restart, and all of that progress is going to be gone, and next time you're trying that, your opponent is going to be prepared for it. So I feel like Chaos Pit, especially if you want to go for a laming heavy strategy, then you probably want to do that after your opponent have used up their restart, and you have a higher chance of your opponent using up their restart if you play more games before you actually want to force them to call a re. And we have a game drop. So the game dropped for one of the players, and that means that we're gonna have to wait a few more moments until we can actually jump into the next series. Well, not next series, but next game. You get what I mean. Tomorrow, 15 GMT, we have the third place game. So the loser of this series versus the loser of the previous one is what we start with. It's a best of 7 for some extra prize money and the third place. And after that, we're going to have the grand finals. Grand finals will also be best of 7. The winner of the previous series and the winner of this series is going to be fighting for the crown and of course for the prize money. Overall prize money of the tournament is around $30,000, but some of that goes for the Silver League, so I would say that probably around 27.5k to 30,000 is the prize pool for the main league over here. That is mostly sponsored by Microsoft, I believe. I actually don't have the tournament banner on. Whoops. I forgot that. Sorry. Robo was around earlier and he didn't tell me. How do we do this so it actually fits? It's a little bit small. But we'll survive. I mean, we had the banner up for the majority of the tournament anyway, so you probably know that it's hosted by T90 and Nacho AOE, and $30,000 But that's, as I said, a combination of the Silver League prize pool and the main league prize pool. By the way, throughout the next week, I will also be streaming Silver League games because Silver League is gonna have some pretty good teams as well. Like quite a lot of the teams have players in the top 100. So we will see what are the good matchups, and I will try to catch as many of them as possible and show them to you as well. We'll see what matches are going to be played next week. Alright, so the game dropped and this is bad. According to Robo, we're gonna have a slight delay here because they need to update the map because someone is having trouble with it. That's actually super weird. So one of the players is actually having trouble with the map here. I assume the only way that happens is that this player has never played this map before in the tournament, because the game version didn't change and we have been using the same we have been using the same thing as well. All right. So with that, we are gonna have probably MBL's fault. I don't know. I don't know. All right. So let's keep track of what Robo is saying on the casters Discord. We apparently are gonna have a small delay. Let's hope it's not super big, and now everybody is in the lobby, so maybe it was just a need for a restart. You know, if it doesn't work, try restarting it. Yeah, MBL used to have plenty of issues with D. I remember that. Like, he has to use a VPN to actually not drop from games, but when D launched, MBL wasn't even able to participate in tournaments because his game constantly crashed up on the launch up of games and like dropped. But we have a game up, so I assume that everything has been fixed. And let's see what we have here. What? Oh, I love it. I love it so much. This is so smart from Norway. Okay, chat. And if you are sitting on YouTube as well watching this, why is Ethiopians a pick here? You don't have gold in the middle. Why do you pick Ethiopians? Because you want to go men at arms. You want to go men at arms here. And this is the tricky part. I'm just going to show that in a moment. Ethiopians receive 100 gold and 100 food when advancing to the next stage. None of the other civilizations are able to go for free men at arms, because to go free men at arms, you need 60 gold and right? Aztecs might be able to do that as well. But you need 60 gold for free militias, then you need to upgrade to men at arms, and then you need to also be able to grab loom. The only way that it could work out is like potentially the Bulgarians, which get the free men at arms upgrade. But they don't have the gold to squeeze out free militias. They only have the gold to squeeze out 2 militias and loom, because they only start with 100 and you need 110 to get free militias and loom. One of the civs, however, that can actually do this is Ethiopians, because you are gonna have see 100 gold to start with. Ethiopian player can make 2 militias and loom, and then when reaching feudal age, he's gonna get 100 extra gold, make a third militia and make men-at-arms upgrade, and then play men-at-arms towers, for example. So theoretically, the men-at-arms play here could actually work out for MBL. If he's not going for it, I have no idea why he picked the Ethiopians though, because like having 100 extra gold doesn't actually mean that you can go for a lot of archers here. So it's probably more like early aggression, then chop to the outside and go for more archers. That's perfectly fine in that way. Anyways, we get some huge aggression from both teams. Scouts running forward, so laming attempts are being done by both teams right now. Everybody has had their water buffaloes by their TC. We're gonna have MBL playing in green to the south. Right next to him is Viper playing as Franks. And here's what I said. Yes, Lan is going to kill the Huntables of Viper, coming in with a laming villager, but does that actually matter? Because Norway can call a restart. This is why you want to do this later on. Right now, Norway can call a restart if they don't like it. Meanwhile, you're gonna have one Water Buffalo stolen by TaToH, but he's going to lose 2, and it could be free because MBL is going to find the third one here as well. So -3 Water Buffaloes for TaToH over here, not a great start, and I honestly don't think that this does a huge amount of damage to Viper. Because, I mean, they're not completely killed. It might be better to go for... it's just so hard. I don't think you can really lame these Huntables efficiently. This one is actually good for TaToH, because he pushed away the deer, and now, indeed, he's gonna wall in the stones, and for now, MBL, I guess he's just gonna escort those poor little war buffaloes across the map and maybe just bring them to Viper, who's closer to him. Anyways, MBL is gonna get a lumber camp on the outside, the first player to do so, so he really wants to chop himself out fast. TaToH milling the deer, interestingly. So maybe he's just anticipating his opponent to kill his deer as well, and he's milling the deer instead of milling the berries. And let's see if TaToH is actually gonna find his own water buffaloes, because it is being lamed away by MBL over here. So TaToH is gonna be pretty low on food. He brought in 1 water buffalo from his opponent, but lost 3, so at the end of the day, that's -2 for him. Meanwhile, for Lan, you can go for a very fast feudal with Lithuanians over here, something to always pay attention for when Lithuanians are out here. And we already see villagers chopping stragglers. Now, usually the time when you see this is when you don't want to send villagers out to the outside one by one. So I would expect Lan to group these 3 villagers up and now move to the outside. Anyways, we got some laming attempts coming in here. TaToH does have loom with Incas, and he's just trying to lame away the bears as much as possible from MBL. I'm surprised MBL didn't go for any kind of aggressive laming over here, but do not lame the lamer, says the common saying. Eagle should be able to beat that scout in Dark Age, so this is definitely a fight that TaToH could win. Gets 1 hit off as well, but here's Viper's scout, so this is still a tricky one to fight against. They're going to try and double on the scout of MBL. He's going to pull the scout. Nice micro so far. Everybody pulls their scout, and that shouldn't really be a lost unit for anyone, if I'm not mistaken. Nice micro by Viper. And now you can try picking off that villager. You have a villager that's very close in HP and an eagle as well that could deal the damage. Meanwhile, Lan is bringing in his own scout, so they're trying to actually bring this one up into an open field engagement. With that scout, and we're gonna have some heavy walls here from Viper, with Frank's feudal age first from Lan going up at 19 pop for himself, moving to an actually back of wood line. Look at that. Instead of going here, which is the closest, he goes a little bit more to the back. I actually like that because it's a little bit safer, but you have to focus down those trees. Anyways, here's the moment when that scout needs to start engaging. There's a 2 HP on TaToH scout, so that cannot really do anything useful. Nice reaction by MBL, and I don't think that this scout is enough from Lan right now. You might want to wait until feudal age with this. You probably want to harass the lower HP villager, or just block it. That was a beautiful block by Lan. He's trying to block the villager, so TaToH's gonna have like a 2 steps advantage with that villager, and then TaToH can quick wall that villager in. See, he's gonna come in here, block, and now TaToH can quick wall that villain. Or just keep blocking. Yeah, exactly, that's what's gonna happen. Now MBL is trying to wall that will in here as well. Viper is coming back with his own scout, but now TaToH should have no trouble running back home. Lan is gonna have a faster feudal age than Viper does, so Lan should be able to hunt down that scout, even though it's going to be close to villagers, so villagers could help out in that engagement. Viper coming in with the Brax right now. Brax on the way as well for Lan. And as I said, you can actually try to hunt that scout down. It takes 2 more hits to kill, something that TaToH is not, or Lan is not willing to commit to. And it appears that TaToH is gonna play Inca Will Rush here, Inca Will Rushing Viper to be precise. That's a little bit too early though. Like, he isn't up to feudal yet, so these villagers are the same as Viper's wills. What are they up to? Are they just trying to lame the food sources here? Stable is already on the way for Lan, and are they gonna try to just fight a wood line fight here and try to delay Viper from getting to the outside? That could be a plan. Viper trying to quick wall his villager in. One of the villagers are isolated, so this could be a fight that Lan might like. And here's the first tower from TaToH, a beautiful tower to be precise. Like, Viper at this point, he could pull the villagers to fight this one, because he has 7 wheels in here, 7 for TaToH as well, with no upgrades. TaToH getting the blacksmith in just yet, he's gonna have scale mail very soon. Viper, remember, his feudal age is slower than that of TaToH's, so that's a desperation tower. That's a huge desperation tower here, and boy oh boy, I mean, if they focus down the villagers here, this tower might not actually go up for Viper, although now it should. Yeah, TaToH wasn't focusing down the villagers around the tower, so this is tower versus tower. One of the ways that you can stop the Inca Will Rush is that if you force tower fights, Viper running away with these wheels, Land Scouts will not find anything. Now, that being said, MBL is pretty untouched over here, and here is what I said. It's not even going to be 3 men-at-arms. It's going to be more. I love this idea from Norway. And also, I just want to give a quick shout out to myself for actually realizing why Ethiopians are used here. Because it's a nice idea. And 4 men-at-arms in such a map is hard to deal with, because men-at-arms are actually decent against scouts. And they also eat spearmen. There is just nothing that can kill men-at-arms easily here. So, the Ethiopians pick is excellent. Unpredictable, because you would expect Ethiopians to be used in Arabia, but also an excellent civilization pick. Now, you want to pick off that spearman if you are TaToH, and TaToH has +1 defense. An absolute chaos is that what we're looking at here. Look at that chaos. This is why this map is called Chaos Pit, and it appears that the men-at-arms from MBL will go to the wood line of Lan. Lan is fully void on the wood line, so that helps a tiny bit. MBL isn't gonna be able to kill a lot over there. And Viper, he's got the extra HP on those scouts, so those scouts are actually better than that of Len's. But Len's got the extra armor on the villagers, but I think Len has to commit to this fight, otherwise he's never gonna be in a good position. I mean, he just constantly keeps running, and Viper 23 wheels, TaToH 26. Not bad for Spain. Not bad, and the only problem that you are suffering from when you're using men-at-arms is that they're slow. So by the time they do any damage, it doesn't really matter. Look at that. I mean, if the men-at-arms actually hit this wood line here from TaToH, jackpot, amazing. But they're just unable to do any damage right now, and Lan is having a nice and comfy time getting up to reasonable villager numbers on food. He's also closer to chopping out than Viper, something to point out. MBL is very, very close to chopping out, and TaToH didn't even bother trying to chop his way out. For the time being, towers are coming up. Remember, stone and berries are denied from Viper, and Franks have a berry gathering bonus, so denying the berries from them is actually nice. Lan still has some scouts around here, but a lot of them are super weak, so I'm not sure how much damage they can actually do. Did the men-at-arms miss the wood line? They might have had. No, they know about the wood line, and now they're heading there, so I guess indeed MBL missed the wood line the first time, but it doesn't matter. Like, men-at-arms aren't really gonna do much here for MBL. Especially now that Lan is out. So Lan could just seal this opening here and chop the wood line from the outside. Men-at-arms here aren't really gonna do much anymore. And Viper, 11 on food. Lan, 19. That's actually pretty cool, because Lan can actually overrun his opponent with better scout numbers. The scary thing is that Ethiopian's untouched play here from MBL, and now he's gonna get gold, which means he can go for archers. And now the man-at-arms are heading towards TaToH. The man-at-arms play is very, very good for MBL, and I really like the idea. It's just a matter of he wasn't able to find a place where he could use them. Nice kill over there from Lan, and the Viper is down to 26 wheels. 26 wheels for Viper right now. Lan is at 34, and remember that Lithuanians are pretty scary if to fight against. The market comes in for Lan, interestingly, instead of a blacksmith. He should be moving out now with some villagers to start grabbing gold for himself. He's got 20 on food, so he's gonna have to work progress towards gold. And men-at-arms are in. Nice quick wall from TaToH, but there is an opening, more quick walls. And I don't know if you want to take fights against men-at-arms with wheels. These men-at-arms or wheels don't have a forging. And it's still 4 men-at-arms. I'm not saying that it's not a fight that TaToH can win. I'm saying that it's not something that he probably wants to comfortably take. But it appears they're bringing in the scouts, so the villagers are just there to kill the spearmen. Viper scouts are also lurking around. But I feel like this is helping Lan immensely, because Lan can just chill, 20 on food. I think the only one thing I'm missing from him is gold, but maybe he wants to sell stone to go up, because he's 5 on stone. So maybe he wants to sell the stone to go up to castle. That's actually a bad fight for Spain. That spearman was there for so long, and it killed like 2 or 3 scouts. It is gonna be a cleanup, but that wasn't a good fight for Spain. And indeed, Lan is selling stone. I'm not sure why he's doing that. He could go to mine gold, but I guess it might be a little bit faster for him to just mine the stone here and sell it. And he's the first player going up into Castle Age. Viper, not even close. MBL, I mean, he has a stable out, but I would massively prefer Lithuanian Knights over Ethiopian Knights. That's the problem. That it's... We talked about this so many times in 2v2 that I feel like the cavalry player is a lot more valuable than the archers player. So MBL having an archer heavy civ here will pretty much mean that he isn't going to be as useful as Viper is with his civilization in early castle. This tower was denied for time being. MBL trying to wall this one in. Some of those walls are a little bit weak, but TaToH still cancels it. Let's see if Lan can actually get some villager kills. He's got no upgrades on those scouts. Same thing for Viper. A lot of spears on the way for TaToH. So this tower is still not gonna go up because MBL is gonna deny that with his own tower. Not sure why TaToH is committing to that. But it turns out that MBL isn't jumping into the tower, so that tower might still go up. Spears on the field for TaToH. And MBL's villagers are just automatically going out to build those walls, which allows TaToH to get that tower up. And yes, MBL is gonna be in castle, and he's gonna do double stables, but as I said, I prefer Lithuanians over Ethiopians when you're talking about cavalry fights by a massive margin. So, at this point, this is looking good for Spain. We gotta pause. 40 villagers from MBL. Lan is only at 36, but Lan is much more advanced into Castle Age, and he's making more scouts. To a point where Light Cav might be a justified upgrade for him. He doesn't have Bloodlines incoming, which is a little bit disturbing though. Just sending villagers to gold. And Viper, I think, dropped. I think Viper has dropped out of the game. Because I don't think this is a GG. I just don't think it is. I'm gonna check the caster's Discord. Game crash, they will restore. Okay. So, a restore is coming in here from Norway. And let's be honest, Viper is out. But he's not in Castle Age, right? So he can't actually drop a TC here. He's not far away from clicking up, by the way, but he still needs some gold. And I can see Lan just sending the first few knights to try and loop around. Like, get out here, loop around, and try to hit Viper's wood line. We'll see if it works, because Viper is already heavily stonewalling this side. But MBL is open as well, so that could also be an option. And I feel like TaToH is doing an excellent job just disrupting Viper and MBL at the same time. And it's about the fact that you have a Lithuanian player against an Ethiopian player. Something where I favor Lithuanians a lot more. What's the game time? The problem is that this overlay is actually having a hard time displaying game time. So I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Alright, they are back in the game. We have 1 minute 17 seconds of spec delay to overcome. Don't worry about the 4 Britons. It is just because if you save and restore, that's how it is getting restored. But you can also see that whoever has a non-Briton civ here is the one whose save file is being used to restore the game. Which means that in this case, we're using a Viper's save to restore the game. Alright, so everything is looking good for Spain here, and it turns out that their Chaos Pit game plan, even though it's kinda standardish and not so creative, it's working out well because it's executed well. And from what I am seeing here, the Tatars pick in first game and Lan going for cavalry. Now TaToH Inca rushing, Lan going for cavalry. I feel like what we are going to see as a tendency for Spain is that TaToH is going to be the player that tries to be disruptive, and they just want to try to get Lan into a comfortable position with a lot of knights. And I like that because I feel like Lan is a player that actually wavers a little bit more during or under pressure than TaToH does. So they just want to make that Lan feel comfortable here, get a good army numbers and whatnot. And that could be a beautiful tower, by the way, from TaToH if he gets that up. There is an immediate counter tower by MBL. Castle Age is almost in for Lan, and as I said, there are more scouts on the field, which I really like, even though they run past the TC over here. And they don't want... Lan! All those scouts for nothing. He could have waited until Bloodlines comes in or whatnot. Oh man, that shouldn't have happened that way. Anyways, Castle Age is in, and Husbandry as an early upgrade for Lan. I'm not a fan of that. Because you want to get knight numbers out here, like fast. So Husbandry is a secondary type of thing, and it appears the MBL is going cavalry. I still prefer the Lithuanian player going cavalry over the Ethiopian player though. So that's gonna be an interesting one to take a look at. Viper is chopping to the outside. He's done already with that. And we already have knights on the field. Scouts aren't really gonna beat knights here. So Lan, especially once he gets scale boarding in here, he should be able to start pushing Viper quite aggressively. Viper is up to Castle Age as well though, and that's not something to underestimate. TaToH needs to get himself up to Castle. This is the drawback of Inca Veil rushes on this map. The Inca Veil rushing player is going to be so late into Castle Age that if he cannot delay his opponent enough, things could get pretty rough, and the camos are out for MBL. Something I was thinking about for the Ethiopian player out here. There are spearmen from TaToH to defend against this one. Knights might just dive past the TC here, even though they do only have +1 pierce armor. But the mobility of those knights could actually make life very hard for TaToH. I think he needs his spearman back at home, and he knows that he needs to like full wall his base right now. It's getting trickier for Spain because camos will be able to hold this one for now, and Viper is gonna have save gold access as well. That being said, oh, he traps 2 villagers. No way. This is only a Viper thing. That's just one spearman and 1 villager, but come on. He just trapped the Will and the spearman from Lan over there. So Knights trying to bash their way into MBLs. Eco here. Nice revos from MBL for the time being, and camos now arriving. So you're gonna need something that deals with camos like spearmen. Luckily Lithuanians have good pikes. And now what is TaToH up to? He's getting a market out. He's still so far from getting up to Castle Age, that's the problem. So it's 2 Castle Age players, and the Viper can go Knights of his own, supported by the camos of MBL, which forces Lan to like just run, because he cannot take a fight. There's no way he take fights against camos here. In fact, this might force Lan to play with are those guys trapped even there or what? This might force Lan to play with Pike and Siege, and I think that might be more reasonable here than Knight and Monk, because you can't convert enough camos here to really justify for that, and that's not a fight that you want to take. More spears are coming out for TaToH, trying to support as best as he can, but Norway is already stonewalled on the outside, so no chance to do damage on the outside. Camos cleaning up the knights. I feel like this is slipping out of the grasp of Spain. When the restore happened, I said that this is not a very creative strategy. It was something that was sorta expected, and the Veil Rush is just not necessarily the way to go. You just commit so much to being able to push in H2 that you're just gonna fall behind by a massive margin in H3. Now, how is Lan doing with stone? He's very far away. Usually one thing that you could see in this setup is that one of the players that is going for the fastest castle age is gonna go for heavy on stone and then drop a forward castle, which could still be a possibility, but I mean, Lan is not close to dropping a castle just yet. But the fact that he's sending villagers to stone makes me believe that that could be part of the game plan for him. He's only 1 TC, Viper is making a second TC on the outside, MBL ordered to actually 3 TCs for MBL already. Heavy on stone. So they want to capitalize on the camos, and probably MBL is just gonna castle drop TaToH potentially over here. TaToH stonewalling their side, and let's see if Lan is gonna do some stone walls as well. This might end up being a long game because I don't see MBL killing Lan very, very fast over here. One of the monks go down. There is actually 2 camos being converted. Lan just deletes them to prevent MBL from converting them back. But I feel like you need some spears on the field as well to fight this one. TaToH on the way to Castle Age himself, dropping a bunch of outposts looking for gold mines and probably enemies. And the double cavalry play could still backfire for Norway, because TaToH is heavy on spears, like super heavy on spears, and this would be the moment when you go like Pike and Siege for TaToH. Pike and Manganos could actually threaten MBL here just as much as it could threaten Viper, and I like that these towers are still blocking a lot of farming space from Viper, so Viper's food eco isn't that marvelous. He's got 9 on food, in fact it's just 8 now. 8 on food for 2 TCs and 2 or just 1 stable isn't really enough. I like that Viper is stonewalling this corner though, because this corner and this corner will be used for Norway to trade in the future. So it's nice preemptive thinking over there. Turns out MBL's camos are here to get some raiding damage done. TC should go up from Lan, and that's the problem with camos, they just can't raid. And Viper doesn't really have the capacity to make a lot of knights because it doesn't have a lot of farming eco. So yes, Viper is up in Castle Age, but he just cannot make knights because he doesn't have the food eco. He'll eventually be able to establish a food eco, but he's delayed. Delayed to a point where TaToH is gonna be up to Castle Age, dropping a siege workshop over here and could push Viper, and simultaneously, if you look at the stone count for Lan, that could be a forward castle at some point, like over here. In fact, I feel like TaToH should be pushing MBL with a Pike and Siege push over here. Indeed, here comes the pikeman upgrade, some Vululus, and Lan is gonna lose some villagers. But if all camos are here, Lan could try raiding MBL's eco here. It appears we're gonna have Stonewall versus Stonewall. The only thing that isn't walled here is the right side of the outer rim for... Is MBL laming those farms or what? He converted the villager and now he's running away with them. Knights trying to dive in and kill the monks. They're trying to finish off the monks so they can't heal the camos back. Now they will probably disengage or just take this fight. These are Lithuanian knights, and one thing that we should never forget. Lan picked up the relic in the middle, so he's got +1 attack, and that's +2/+1 against camos that don't really have any upgrades. They have +1/+1, but no bloodlines whatsoever. And in the meanwhile, a castle is coming up here for MBL with just 1 villager. For now, Shoto warriors would actually be pretty decent against the pikemen. So that's not something that we should forget. And here comes the battering ram, interestingly, from TaToH. Knights on the way as well. Full dive in here. Because now MBL doesn't have a lot of army to fight with. He's got 16 army. Most of it is fairly weak camos that are going to struggle against the pikemen. Plus these super strong Lithuanian knights. A second relic could easily be picked up here by Lan. These guys will never get through because Viper will just re-roll those villagers in that easily. But does that matter? Does that matter when Viper's starting TC is going to be pushed down? I like this castle from Viper quite a bit because this prevents TaToH and Lan from pushing him to the outside rim. But Viper is going to lose a lot here. So he's down to 58 villagers and he's pretty much lost the interior of his base. He can still reboot on the outside, but that's gonna take some time. And now is the moment when you're pushing MBL. MBL's also got a defensive castle here, and he's making Shotos in huge quantities. Not something that I expected to see in this game, not gonna lie. Shotos will actually be performing at an okay-ish level against the Knights. But it turns out that this Chaos Pit game could go very, very long. Because this is gonna be a fight that isn't gonna be decided in Castle Age. And this could hurt Spain, because Mbia has a sick boom. Mbia has 93 villagers, and now he could slowly transition to Arbs. TaToH going for a slinging play here. So he's going to sling Lan into just fall on knights. Remember that Lan could pick this relic up as well. Lan right now has one relic in. And I wonder if they can access other relics here as well. TaToH has to reroll his base because Viper is pushing him with a few knights, but not a huge amount. And now Mangonels and Pikes are on the way here. So MBL re-rolling that one just in time. It's going to be awfully hard to get to the outside rim for Spain. That's the problem. They can't pressure Norway on the outside. It appears Viper actually broke through the walls here. This house wasn't started, and that is going to result in a few losses for TaToH over here. TaToH is down to 73 villagers. Same thing as Viper. The difference is that Lan is at 76 and MBL is at 101, and that's huge. 101 villagers for MBL is like crazy boom, and I don't see Spain being able to really threaten MBL here by any means. Camel's trying to dive in to get that Mangonel. You can wonder if that's going to be cost efficient, but it turns out it is. Nice block over there from TaToH though, and at the end of the day it wasn't that cost efficient. I mean, most of the camels have died. Now there is some camels and knights here as well, but MBL is stacking into Imperial, and it's going to be full-on Shoto players. It's going to be full-on Shoto warriors, but the problem is that free relics for the Lithuanian player is huge, and Shoto warriors are fragile and it's hard to mess them because you need castles. Now of course with Royal Heirs tech, you can actually mess Shoto warriors very fast because they train rather fast. However, they're fragile, and that's a problem. They have an insane damage output, but I am not so sure if they can actually deal with Cavaliers from Lithuanians, because Lan is stacking into Cavaliers. That is Royal Heirs for MBL. One thing that MBL could get with Shoto Warriors though is this is something that is used on Arena very frequently. TC snipe with Shoto Warriors. Shoto Warriors have an insane damage output, so with Arson, they can go in and snipe TCs. I could see MBL just running here, take TC down, run to the next TC, kill it. So this is still very dangerous, but Lithuanian Cavalier is not something that you should underestimate. The real question is, what is Viper up to? And the real answer is Viper is going into Imp himself very soon. 41 villagers on food, not making any army. Should be Imp soon, but Lan is pushing on the outside with the Lithuanians. And I could see like Rams coming up here and try to knock down those walls and open up Viper's eco. MBL first to Imperial here. We'll probably wait until +4 defense comes in for the infantry. And he's gonna unleash them soon. Or what am I even talking about? See, they dive in, they kill TCs. You have to fight this if you are Lan, but Lan's cavalry is on the outside. I don't like this for Lan. Shoto warriors are amazing at doing this. Just look at this. They're fast. They can kill villagers really fast. They're fragile, but you can spam them so well. And, well, the only thing that helps here for Lan is that the TC fire is helping immensely. Because it's just +2 defense, but does it matter? Lan is down to 66 villagers. His cavalry here on the outside is nice and everything, but is he gonna kill a lot from Viper? I'm not so sure. Is he gonna lose a lot? Heck yeah. And MBL is... This is something that is used extensively on Arena. Because here, especially if you blast through the walls, you're just running with Shotos and your opponent is gonna die. And if you look at TaToH... No! That was the Imp TC! I didn't even notice that! That was Lan's Imp TC because his Imp progress has been cancelled. He didn't click up before, right? He didn't click up before. I think that was his Imp TC. You aren't stopping that, Lan. I'm sorry to say that. He's trying to petard his way through the walls of Viper, but the difference between Knights and the Shoto Warriors is that Shoto Warriors actually kill buildings, Knights not so much. And Lan is going to tap out MBL's Shoto Warrior masterpiece here. Turns things around because that was a much needed comeback. And honestly, MBL's reaction were super sharp. Viper is playing good, but as weird as it sounds to say, I feel like MBL is actually outperforming Viper in this tournament so far, or at least in this series. Because Viper is playing well, but what MBL is doing is crazy. The amount of boom that he's able to accumulate, even when getting Will Rushed by TaToH, the way that he's reacting to what the Spanish team is doing is all super clean and very well executed. And like TaToH was trying to sling land, but it's a bad sign when the slinging player only sends 1000 resources. The Shoulder Warriors just mold in every building. 10 buildings raised, 1 lost for MBL over there. And this army over here for MBL, once he transitioned to Shoulder Warriors, pretty much won the game for them. And very nice done by MBL. 2-0 for Norway. I predicted 4-3, but the way things are going, this might not be as close as a series. Yeah, Viper is drawing all the attention to himself and MBL kills, exactly. But this is what I was talking about. Spain has a good teamwork, but Norway has so good individual players that it might not be enough for Spain to beat Norway. So, Ethiopians are gone, Franks are gone. On the other side, you are losing Incas and you are losing Lithuanians. Khmer is still available for Spain. And we are gonna have... Why is this so small? So it is going to be Spain's home map once again, so either Scandinavia or Team Acropolis. If we go to Scandinavia, we are gonna have, I would say, Mongols and Japanese for Spain. And on Scandi, Norway should have Berbers and Persians. Yeah, probably. If we go to Team Acropolis, who knows? Maybe we are going to see Cumans, something that the Suomi team tried to use, but they lost against China, I believe. We could see Khmer on Team Acropolis, maybe even Slavs. Basically, any of the good cavalry civs could be used over there. But I'm curious about Cumans. Cumans could go to Ghost Lake, but I'm not sure if we're going to Ghost Lake here, so... my take is probably Khmer on Team Acropolis for Spain. But we'll see if that actually is the thing that works out. I'm not 100% convinced. In fact, I'm nowhere near convinced what the civ picks will be for Spain. And this one. All right. So with that in mind, we are gonna go into game number 3 over here. The game has started, so let's see how we're doing with the spectator delay. There is 3-minute spectator delay to avoid cheating, even though we all know that these players would never actually cheat. So we have Scandi with what is a very, very interesting civ matchup. Celts and Mongols versus Persians and Byzantines. So no Berbers here. That's actually a shocker, because I feel like Berbers is, to a certain extent, a counterpick to Mongols. On the other hand, if you think about the fact that Berbers are struggling against siege ram quite heavily, it is still something that's not an ideal thing for Berbers. We're gonna have safe water generation. This is actually very interesting. So Scandinavia can spawn in 2 different ways. You either have one team on the left and then a water behind them, or both teams share one water. So one player from a team spawns here and the other one spawns here, and both teams share waters. So in this case, they will have their own waters. So the game plan for either team is going to be one of the players smuggling a dock up on the opponent's water. So, like, let's say Lan is going to make a dock here, TaToH's going to make a dock here, so MBL is going to come in the middle and try to get a dock up here to pressure both opponents' fishing eco. So Mongols, no surprise about that one over here. You just want to get to the ultimate snowball composition of Mangrai and Siege Ram. You have a bunch of huntables to work with, no berries but free boars, and also some fish to play around with. Viper with the Persians, it's a very, very good civ, faster working docks, faster working DCs. you can just go for a very, very good hybrid play here. He squeezes in 2 villagers in between lumber camp and the wood line. That's actually very, very nice as well. Nice little extra for him. And MBL playing Byzantines, I feel like his role here is going to be 2 things. Number 1, he's gonna play the Fire Galley role here. But also, what Byzantines give you is a fast Imperial advantage. You can actually go for a relatively fast Imperial with Byzantines and go for like an Arbalest siege push, which could be one of the ways you could negate the Mongols play. Because if you think about that, Mongols need time to get to good Mangadai and good siege numbers, and a civ like Byzantines that could get to a fairly fast Imperial and get some Arbalests and some siege rams or Trebs on the field could actually be something that could prove to be able to stop the Mongol player. Now, with the Mongol player going for what could even be a fast castle play, or just scouts into Mangadai, the Celtic player is the one that is going to have to fight on water, and that's not great for the Celts, because you will have a nice little wood income with the Celtic extra lumberjacking. On the other hand, why is TaToH sending 6 villagers on wood? That feels a little bit too much. So, with the Celtic lumberjacking, you're going to have a good wood income. However, the concern is that the opponent is Byzantines, so their fire galleys will be much, much, much better. So, Viper, with the Persians, not really a lot of walling from him right now. He's gonna start walling off his base. It's a very, very well wallable map for Viper, like perfectly wallable. Same thing for MBL. Not a big fan of this wall, to be honest. I don't know why he's not walling like that. Would be much, much easier for him to do that, but he's MBL. He can wall anything, right? And it appears that he's just gonna wall it like this here. So I guess he just wants this wood line to be safe, and these gold mines as well to be safe from this aggression. So he was here, he was here. This way he also prevents a sneaky dock up in a corner, which is nice to have. And let's see if we have sneaky villagers. Not so far. Then coming in here with some walls as well. Not an easy wall off from him. There's so many wall sections that he needs to make, and these need to be double layers, otherwise it's easy to break through them. TaToH is gonna do some heavy walls as well. And turns out everybody's just gonna be sit back, chilling type of walling scenario. As you would expect, that second board is actually, or it might be the third board for TaToH, is quite early. And it may actually just go back to his original position, because not sure why TaToH lured it in. It's, there was still so much food in the other board. Maybe it's just a misclick, I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, everybody went for Loom when they sent out the villagers for the dogs. This is just a standard thing because you're playing in a big tournament. So you don't want to lose villagers. And guess what? Lan is going for a very, very fast fuel here. So what is he up to? He could make a galley. If he makes a galley, he could patrol it across the shoreline here. And that would prevent their opponents from dropping a dock over there. Or he could go for scouts. And it turns out that we might see a huge team wall from Spain over here. They aren't really rushing up those walls, but based on the positioning of those walls, I have a feeling that we might see something like wall here, and wall here. They're gonna like wall off 35% of the map here. And that fast fuel from Lan could actually surprise a lot of people in here. He actually went 22 villagers up. But the main problem, I believe, for Lan here with the scouts is that it's not like he can do any damage with them. Because right in the moment when he reaches feudal age, Viper and MBL are going to realize, oh shoot, my opponent is in feudal, I need to make sure I wall myself. Now there is the sneaky villager from Viper at the edge of the map, something that is gonna be spotted by Lan, and Lan even has a villager being pulled over here to stop this one. So Viper's sneaky villager is not working. Interesting that Viper is the one going for the sneaky villager and MBL. MBL seems like he is just chilling over here back at home. Maybe what they want to do is just defend their water with MBL and be aggressive with Viper. But Viper isn't really gonna be able to do anything here. Tries to do some crazy Viper quick walls. Like, the reason why he's doing this is because Lan is trying to wall him in. So what Viper is trying to do is making sure that he's never fully walled in. So from time to time, he's gonna break out of his walls and, you know, just chill there. And there is the scout coming in for Viper. He couldn't engage this before because he had a low HP scout. But honestly, there is a fire galley here. A normal galley would have been much, much better. Scout for Viper has a higher, actually even HP. That's where Viper probably snuck past. And TaToH just chilling. They are going to do the team walls, and that's 2 villagers being sent forward by Lan. So it is Lan who is fighting in water, and it turns out that Viper saves that low HP villager. Viper, come on, man. That's unfair. It's cheating. But here's another scout. Yoink. Lan knew exactly that he's gonna have another scout coming in here, so Viper's aggression is gonna get cleaned up, and let's see what Lan is up to. He could still get in through here, but it turns out that he's just wandering around with the vills. There is a random spearman from Viper poking down villagers from Lan. Please react. Please react, Lan. This would be embarrassing, you know. It would be very embarrassing to lose a villager to a spearman in a $30,000 tournament like that. Anyways, big team was for Spain, and behind this one, TaToH is playing a fast castle pretty much. So, well, we'll see what he's up to. If he's going like knights, maybe? He's going market blacksmith. So, it's definitely not archers. Could it be straight Wood Raiders for TaToH, but he's not on stone? Or it could be full sling. Remember that TaToH has been trying to sling Lan in the first game. TaToH has been trying to sling Lan in the previous game. Maybe that's the game plan. TaToH just slinging Lan into numbers. And you can sling once you're up in the Castle Age. And that would explain why Lan is going for a fast Feudal Scouts play. Because he doesn't have to be fast into Castle Age. If you're going for a Mangudai, you prefer to, like, just have an untouched boom into Castle Age, pretty much. And then just be able to slowly progress towards Mangudai. Instead here, Lan is playing very aggressive. And that makes me believe that the game plan is that the Celtic player is gonna sling the Mongol player into Mangudai. And that could work. That could work because I don't see Byzantines or Persians stopping the Mangudai plus siege ramp push easily here. Like, they can try, and it's going to be 2v1 in terms of army numbers, but remember that Mangudai are so dangerous when they are fully upgraded, and the real question with Mongols is always that, can you get to Mangudai and good upgrades before you get killed by the opponent? That's basically the main question with Mongols. Lan should sell that 100 stone and click up. Lan? Yeah, he just sold the stone. Anyways, it turns out that TaToH is making a barracks here on the front line, so I guess it's going to be sort of a Hoang push then? Pike and Siege? I would actually prefer slinging the Mongol player instead of going for Pike and Siege, which TaToH has a huge amount of resources in the bank, by the way. Like a massive amount of resources. If that's not for slinging, I don't know what for. But that is indeed Spearman coming out on the field, Siege Workshop as well. So they want to do probably Hoang Rush and Sling. It's pretty tight, but the Hoang Rush doesn't necessarily require a lot of resources. You are completely fine getting a few spears out, maybe getting the pikeman upgrade in, and just getting a few mangonels out and just not losing them is basically the key to this one. And MBL is still in feudal, so he's gonna struggle against mangonels eventually. And Lan 60% towards Castle Age. Viper is almost up as well. The two teams have completely untouched fish booms. Viper with the best fishing eco. You would expect that from, or like overall eco. You would expect that from Persians. And let's see, it's a Mangonel, another battering ram. They're trying to knock down MBL's barracks here as well. MBL, honestly, if you look at his resources, he isn't far away from buying himself up to Imperial. It's a matter of, what is he gonna do in Imperial? That is the real question. MBL losing 2 wheels on the wood line over here and losing a third one. MBL isn't reacting in time, and TaToH is already doing quite a lot of damage here. There is a battering ram to knock down that barracks, and there is going to be need for monks. Alright, MBL TC is the second building, so he's not gonna go up to Imp just yet, but he's under heavy pressure. And behind this one, we're gonna have Lan coming in here with Mongols. Now I quickly want to check out the resources received, because TaToH is playing free TC Boom and Hoang Rush. Spears are coming out for MBL, trying to poke down that Mangonel that's being repaired. Pikes are out on the field for TaToH, and the Scorpion is out as well, so this isn't gonna happen, and that Barracks is probably gonna go down. MBL is gonna have to wall behind this one. We'll see if TaToH is just going free TC Boom and Hoang push, or he's actually giving some resources for Lan. I think that he needs to sling Lan to a certain extent, otherwise this could go pretty bad. TaToH could kill 2 villagers here with the Mangonel, and that's a Mangonel firing up hills, but it doesn't really matter if MBL isn't reacting. And the walls are broken through here in a matter of moments. So now, next step is that you want to start pressuring MBL's eco here. He's got Byzantine stone walls that are pretty sturdy though, something to pay attention for. Sensitive for MBL, so he wants to get some conversions in for the time being. But remember that behind this one, MBL is 2 TCs forced to defend with double monasteries. Whereas for TaToH, he's 3 TCs. What is Viper up to? Viper is going 4 TC Boom, so he knows that MBL is the one soaking up all the damage. So it is the responsibility of him to snowball this game with better numbers. Redemption on the way for MBL, so he really wants Redemption Monks to play against the Hoang Rush. Basically, the standard way of playing that. Redemption Monks is the best bet here. And as I said, now that we have a little bit of a peaceful time, I just want to check out if there are actually any slinging going on here. No slinging. So, turns out that TaToH is just going to do his own thing, boom 4 TCs, and go for the Hoang push. I am fairly certain that once the push stalls out, we are going to see a sling from him to Lan. But at this point, his eco is 70 villagers, MBL is at 50. So I feel like he's actually keeping pace with Viper, which is very, very nice. And Lan is also out there with a reasonable villager count for the time being. Nice little fishing eco available as well for these players. There is a knight that gets converted by MBL, but I feel like if that monastery goes down, that's gonna make defense a little bit harder for MBL as well. Here come the monks. Remember, it's Redemption Monks now. MBL microing them like a madman. Viper is coming in here with a scout. Not sure what that is meant to do over here. No conversions just yet. And it turns out that they might be switching target and go for Viper. Viper has TCs that withstand a lot of punishment, but he could be very, very exposed to the Pike and Siege aggression. It is just a house to break through here. Viper is going for triple stables. He wants to get some knights on the field, but I mean, with Monastery for TaToH and Pikeman, he should be able to take some reasonable engagements. And right now, all TaToH is trying to do is delay both players. Just be annoying, just like he did with the Inca Rush. Delay both players and allow his teammate to get into good Mangudai numbers. The first castle is on the way for Lan. Lan is adding some scouts and coinage for MBL. So he now wants to slink Viper into what could be Paladin, and those Paladin actually have anti-archer attack bonus. MBL is not far away from clicking Imp, by the way, but I don't think he's gonna need that. There is 2 Scorpions converted. That's actually awful for TaToH. That's like horrible. Now Mangonel pops out, the beautiful like ground attack by TaToH. I think he retaliates for the 2 Scorpions getting converted over there. Viper just has to revolve behind this one, gets more and more knights out on the field. And if he gets slung by MBL, he's gonna be able to get into Imperial really fast. I feel like this is the moment that TaToH needs to start slinging Lan as well. Lan not far away from getting into Imperial himself. We'll have some vision on the left side of the map, something I really love to see. Knights are on the field. Mangonel is gonna be exposed to that. That should be 1 Mangonel being killed. And now Viper should disengage. Or is he gonna jump the pikeman? He could do that. Lan on the way to Imperial though. Remember, right now, all TaToH needs to do is just make sure that both Norwegian players are actually suffering from huge pressure. Nice moves from MBL. 1 monk gets killed and the Mangonel gets converted. That was a little bit too greedy from TaToH. I think he should have deleted it after the first monk is killed, even though that isn't going to make it cost efficient. So Viper is going to have a huge amount of cavalry out on the field, and remember, those are Persian cavalry. I feel like what you need right now for Spain is to be fully walled on all fronts with stone walls like that. Because now you're waiting for a Mangudai to come in. TaToH, on the other hand, he didn't research coinage, so I don't think that he's slinging just yet, but this is the moment to start slinging. Like, go full on sling the Mongol player and hope that the Mongols will be superior compared to the Persians, which could work out. If you get to good Mangudai numbers, they will eat the knights, but you need good Mangudai numbers, otherwise they will be overrun by knights or cavaliers, and those cavaliers will have an anti-archer attack bonus, so they're actually pretty cool at killing Mangudai as well. Meanwhile, as I said, it seems like Spain is fully walled. They're gonna do like 5-layer stone walls if needed, but Lan needs some more castles. He's got 22 on stone, so he's really progressing towards that, but this is the slow play of Mongols we're always talking about. It just takes forever to get those Mangudai numbers up. Once you have it up, it's amazing, but it just takes so much time. Everybody else is going into Imperial here. TaToH still massing pikemen back at home, so it could be Haldir Mangudai as well, because remember that if MBL is slinging Viper, the only unit that Norway is going to make is going to be cavalry. So in this case, TaToH going to full Haldir is actually good, because it's once again 2 versus 1 on the field. Yes, MBL is going to sling Viper, but Viper, he's gonna have cavalry only, and that's a one-dimensional army that's going to struggle against halberdiers, and I'm pretty sure that's the plan for TaToH and Lan here, to just go halb and fight the cavalry from Viper. Viper is gonna make conscription. I could make an argument for Petard, bashing your way through that single-layer stone wall, and it turns out MBL is gonna go for Arblast. Remember, MBL's got cheaper Imperial, and actually skirms. That's a weird choice. He's floating 1,000 gold, so I would have assumed it's Arbs. But MBL is the lowest villager count in the game, which is always something to pay attention for. If he can get to good skirmisher numbers, they can be pretty dangerous against the Mangudai. Turns out Lan is already moving out to the Mangudai, getting some kills over there. But you don't want to lose those Mangudai. You really don't want to lose those Mangudai for now. So you will have to run away. Pikemen coming in, and I believe that TaToH is just going to go hub in the siege ram now. Because if Viper is not here, and MBL has just a few skirms on the field, let's go, Halberdier siege ram. And TaToH is going to steamroll everything with siege ram here. He's going to have the food to get the upgrades instantly, and they will just absolutely crash MBL's right side, or just crash the corner that is responsible for a trade. And that's going to be super important. The trade and being able to establish trade is going to be a huge factor in this one. Paladin on the way for Viper though. Meanwhile, Elite Mangudai for Lan, he's got 3 castles up right now, getting the next one in. He's trapping down Viper's castle here, and Viper isn't able to use the cavalry just yet. Halberdier on the way for TaToH. There is a castle up that's a Byzantine castle, making cataphracts. Guess what? If that castle doesn't go down, the Halberdiers will just die to the cataphracts, and that's still... Capdrams now. MBL's trying everything he can. MBL's trying everything he can because he needs to save that castle. Viper is also bringing in the cavalry here. They know that they need to save this castle, because if cataphracts come in, Celts will struggle against that very badly, and I think MBL is gonna be able to keep that castle alive, or can he? He doesn't have a huge amount of damage output right now, like a few villagers and a few cataphracts bashing down those rams, but it's still 3 Capdrams hitting that castle. And that trap could also be set up to take that castle down. Onager cut! Onager cut from MBL, and the cavalry is in! What a play! What a play! And, I mean, nice traps from TaToH over there. And the Halberdiers are also doing the cleaning up, but that is a Paladin from Persians. Not something that you want to fight against. MBL saves the castle! Could this be another very sad defeat for Spain? They just have so good game plan. But Norway always finds a way. Norway just always finds a way to make this game awful for Spain. Viper's at 150 villas. He's making 4 Paladin. And I mean, he's just gonna be as annoying as it is humanly possible, killing villas from TaToH. TaToH has 45 idols. Still, I mean, TaToH is not completely dead. And the Mangudai will still be scary. So this is not over just yet. But from a point where Spain was in a very good position, I feel like now it is even at best. They still have the score lead, but I mean, Lan is under heavy pressure, and it's just so hard to kill those Paladins. They're just galloping into your eco. That being said, Right now, what TaToH is doing is just making siege rams. There is redemption on these monks, so they can actually convert the siege workshops. MBL is trying to do that, trying to clean it up. Trebs will be set up, and it's not like Norway has a huge army to fight right now. Norway has 35 cavalry for Viper over here, 18 army only for MBL. And yeah, Viper's got some cavalry on the middle, but is that enough against that many Halberdiers and kept rams? No, it isn't. There is no siege rams just yet, but it doesn't matter because now MBL doesn't have an army, and that's the problem. MBL doesn't have an army. Spain, huge mistake not re-walling that. That should be fully walled already, because Viper could just counterattack and retaliate with the Paladins. MBL trying to get another castle up here, but that's a lot of elite Mangudai now. A huge amount of elite Mangudai. Just go hit and run, hit and run. Viper, nice job picking off the rams. TaToH a little bit low on food, so he isn't able to go for siege ram just yet. But yeah, Mangudais will eat the Paladins at this pace. And Viper isn't going to be able to sustain this one. No trade at all for Spain. Norway already has a trade established. So in the long game, Norway is going to be good. But you need to keep that trade alive to make it happen. Trade cog! MBL is making trade cogs! PogChamp! That's all I'm saying. Omega PogChamp, 82 gold on those and 87 on the trade cards. And the trade cog could actually work, because their trade is very, very open. Now, that being said, Spain is re-walling this one. The raids have been cleaned up. And if you look at the numbers, we're talking about 56 elite Mangudai now for LAN. MB and Viper combined for 40 army. They are going to get a lot of style points for trade cogs over here, but I don't see them stopping this. Because the right side is going to be exposed, and the Rams can destroy the dogs just as well as they can with the markets. And TaToH on the way with siege ram. He doesn't have Furor Celtica yet, but he could also grab that easily. And he's got a bunch of Halberdiers on the field. MBL doesn't have army. He wanted to slink Viper for some time, which delays his advance towards like Arbs. He's trying to get some elite skirms on the field, but these guys are missing so many upgrades, and Mangudais will just eat them for breakfast. MBL trying everything he can to save that castle, but that isn't really gonna happen, or at least not sustainably. Or can they? Viper actually dove in and sniped the traps. So the castle is going to stand for some more time. But I mean, if you look at the mileage numbers, it's just not good for Viper and MBL. They don't have army. And now Mangudai taking a nice little... Is this a good engagement for the Mangudai? Probably not. You want to use them as hit and run. So honestly, this is a bad fight for land. He's dropping to 45 Mangudai in this one. But I mean, new traps will be set up. Mangudai are now diving into MBL's eco here. MBL's 99 villagers, 111 population. The lowest in the game. Markets are being set up by Spain now to get some trade going as well. And that's a huge blob of siege ram with soon-to-be Furor Celtica for Spain. I feel like we're going to see a win here for Spain. MBL is trying to get like his castles up. These are Byzantine castles with a lot of HP. Trying to get to Arbalest. Well, at least it's Elite Skirm. But the problem is that, like, with Elite Skirms you need a huge amount of numbers. That being said, if MBL can get to good Elite Skirm numbers, both Mangudai and Halberdier are dying to Elite Skirms. It's just a matter of how do you stop the traps? How do you stop the siege rams? Especially with Furor Celtica. These guys have 400 HP. And yeah, Viper can send his cavalry in to deal with the rams, but he's going to lose a lot of numbers. And like in 2v2, Trash isn't really a legitimate unit composition. So MBL playing for skirms, it's not going to be great because yes, it's relatively efficient against the Mangudai, but Trash is never the way to go in 2v2 when your opponent is making gold units. And Viper and MBL tap out. I feel like after a scary start for Spain, they have shown why they're here. Because this was well executed from Spain. I could have actually imagined different game plans for them. But it was actually well executed. TaToH with the Hub and Siege. And really what actually made this game very good for Spain is that TaToH was able to go for a Huang Rush, Pike and Siege, and go for free TCs. MBL had to make multiple monasteries to defend, get redemption, very expensive technologies. MBL was on 2 TCs for long. So TaToH was able to outboom him quite massively, which is a huge factor contributing to the win. Other thing is that Lan actually noticed the Voyager from Viper trying to get the dock up, and Viper wasn't able to get the dock up. If Viper gets a dock up here, this would have been completely different, but one of the reasons why this was so good for Spain is because they had an untouched fishing eco, so it's not like they had to fight. And if you look at this, it turns out that MBL had so many things to do with the defense that his fishing eco was idle for so long. Whereas for Spain, it seems like that wasn't really the case. And yeah, it gets scary for Spain with that Onager cut, but LAN, it's just full elite Mangudai from that point on. And the resources, 22 to 13,000 food for TaToH, double the wood for TaToH compared to MBL. MBL had a little bit more gold, but at the end of the day, it turns out that the Viper sent more resources to MBL than MBL did to Viper. And remember, MBL was the one that did coinage. So MBL was the one that actually wanted to sling Viper, but that didn't actually work out. So now it was Viper sending resources to MBL. 2-1 over here. As I said, my expectation is 4-3 for Norway, and honestly, I can see that justified, and I can see that working out. Because Spain is showing very, very good skills over here, but so far I'm a little bit more convinced on Norway between the two teams. Alright, we are going to lose Byzantines and Persians over here over Mongols and Celts. So now we're going to the first home map of Norway, which could be Nomad, Ghost Lake, or Valley. If we are going to Nomad, it's likely we're going to see something like Burmese Malians. Ghost Lake will be Indians and maybe Aztecs or Malay. Maybe Vikings. And if we go to Valley, Valley is going to be the other Archer Civ and potentially Berbers? Maybe? Other side, I feel like Ghost Lake is a Cuman's map for Spain. Spanish is a Nomad Civ for them, like Spanish Italians will probably go for Nomad or Spanish Japanese. What are they up to? Bold prediction, but could we see Italians on... Yeah, I think that's the plan for Spain. This Italians pick is too early to be just a pick for Nomad. Right? Like, I mean, Italians are nice on Nomad, but it's not something that you can't replace with another Civ like that. I can see them using it on Nomad, but I have a feeling that it might be for Ghost Lake. Remember how creative Spain was with the strategies? Was there anything special Biz offered in the Nomad game? There was no Nomad game. There was a Scandi game. So the thing is, and I'm just looking at the civs. Remember that the way Spain predicted in the previous round that their opponents will go Indians on Ghost Lake. So they picked Goths. And that was a good counter pick. What does Norway do? They ban Goths. What does Spain do? They pick Italians. Why? Because on Ghost Lake, as weird as it sounds like, to have Italians on a map that doesn't actually feature any water engagements or fishing, what you could gain is Genoese crossbows. And you can go for pretty much an untouched fast castle with the Italians and go Genoese crossbows. And Genoese crossbows eat camels, regardless of the pierce armor of those camels. If that's the game plan for Spain, then once again, genius idea from Spain to do that. Players will be using Bathroom, apparently. So, according to Robo, there is going to be short break. So, what did Byzantines offer in Scandi game? Not much. I feel like the weird thing that Viper was the one that was trying to dog the opponent's water. If MBL went for a docking, I would have said, okay, you get better fire galleys, so it's reasonable to try and push the opponent's fish with that. But it turns out that it wasn't that case. So, honestly, Norway didn't really get anything out of the Byzantines pick here. So, really, I feel like if Indians is really the Ghost Lake Civ for Norway, I can really see Italians being a factor there. Alright. Yeah, actually, they get some nice advantage from Byzantines. Indeed, their castle stayed up longer. That's something. Like, even if it doesn't seem like it's much, it's actually super helpful. Like, without Byzantine castles, And without Byzantine buildings, overall, MBL would have been a lot more exposed to that pike, siege type of a push than the siege rams later in Imperial. All right. So, with that in mind, we are gonna have game is not up yet, so few more minutes of waiting probably in here. I'm just looking at the lobby to see what map they're going for. I feel like I could see Norway going for Nomad first. But it's tricky because LAN and TaToH are also pretty decent on Nomad, so we'll see how it turns out for Norway if they go for that over here. But I have a strong feeling that Ghost Lake is a map where Spain has a very, very good plan. And in fact, I would probably put Ghost Lake in the hands of Spain now based on the civilizations remaining. Valley is gonna be interesting. And Spain still has Team Acropolis as their home map. So I would probably say that Norway wants to pick his best map here. Because you want to push down Spain to a position where they are 3-1. So that there's a must-win game after this for Spain. Whereas if you pick a weaker civ, conserving one of your, or weaker map, conserving your best map for a later stage, if you have to play that, I believe that you could give a chance for LAN and TaToH to come back into a 2-2 setup, and then it's an even series and they get their confidence back. Because I think after the first two games, LAN and TaToH might have actually lost a little bit of confidence. It didn't seem like that was the case in the Scandi game, but you never know. And we're going to Nomad. So, Nomadness is coming in here. So, let's see what we got. We got probably Malians, Burmese versus Italians and wait, no, what Italians? No Italians. Against Spanish and Japanese is my best bet over here. So the Burmese and Spanish players will try to fast castle it, go for unique unit, and just win the game that way, basically. Try to get raiding damage done with those fast-moving unique units. Whereas for the other two players, it depends on their relative positioning compared to each other, but they will be the ones fighting for water. Both teams still have their restart, I believe. Do they? Yeah, both teams still have their restarts, which is actually important. So you probably want to use your restart on Nomad, if you ask me. Because on Nomad, there is just so many things that can go wrong. There's so many things that are like, okay, unlucky map generation and whatnot. So, once again, the winner of this series goes into the grand finals tomorrow. Not sure when it starts. It's going to start after a third place game. Third place game, or third place series, starts at 15 GMT tomorrow. And, well, RoboSet starting in a minute, about a minute ago. So, I guess any moment now. So Nomad, it's actually very interesting how MBL and Viper are using Nomad very frequently throughout this entire tournament as one of their home maps. In fact, they've been pretty efficient on it, even though mostly it was Lithuanians for Viper that they used for Nomad. One thing that we might actually want to look at while we're waiting here is the breakdown of civs for this map. You can see how frequently Burmese are picked, only 33% win rate though. Spanish, on the other hand, 73%. That's because in low numbers, conquistadors are actually able to beat the Arambai. Plus, Spanish have the ability to build their TC up faster a little bit, which helps. Spanish actually are adept at towering, whereas Burmese are not so much. So this is what you see here, Spanish. Something that favors the Spanish team here quite heavily. Malians, kind of miserable win rate over here, but that is very heavily dependent on the situation that you are in. So we always have to take into account when you're looking at win rates for Nomad. Number one, there is a little bit, like in some cases, the sample size is a tiny bit small. Number two, even more importantly, is that it's a little bit hard to really evaluate the capabilities of a certain civ on Nomad. And the reason why is because so many games and the outcome just depends on the situation you're being put in with a certain civ. Anyways, there are some massive surprises over here. Not gonna lie, this is not something I expected. Lan and TaToH playing Spanish Italians. So they will go for the standard Italians play. So it turns out they didn't want to go for the 500 IQ Ghost Lake pick of Italians. And they just go for what is a standard, like, Italians are amazing as Nomad Civ. Because you're gonna have cheap fishing eco, cheaper water tax helps so much, TaToH is gonna fight water. And Lan, Spanish. Other side, Indians is interesting for Viper and Malians for MBL. So it turns out that I guess the Indians' pick from Viper could be attributed to the fact that he wants to get early camos and he wants to battle against Spanish with the camos, which could work until you don't get to like 8 conquistadors. Once 8 conks are out on the field, camos will start struggling against that quite mightily, but this is going to be an interesting one. So it turns out that instead of Spain counterpicking the Indians' pick on Ghost Lake, it is going to be potentially Norway counterpicking the Spanish pick here on Nomad. Indians also have cheaper villagers, which help a tiny bit when we're talking about Nomad starts. We're gonna have blue for Viper as Indians, yellow is a Lance TC spot on the far left of the map. We are gonna have a close TC MBL in green, and we are gonna have far away TC from TaToH in red. This is a bad scenario for Spain, because what you want is an untouched play for Lan with his conquistadors, but he has a very far away stone, which is bad, although he could use this one as well if he scouts it. But MBL is close to him, Viper is close to him, and if they actually find him, they will just double down on him. But this could also work out well for Spain if Lan plays smart. If Lan is actually able to disrupt both Viper and MBL with towers, TaToH's gonna have an untouched boom with Italians. And TaToH could actually snowball the game just as well as Lan could. Probably not an ideal scenario for Spain, but maybe something they can work out. Alright, so we're gonna have TaToH with a dock up here. Close to him is Lan with his own dock. MBL's dock is in a little bay over here. It's a nice little dock until you consume these 3 deep fishes, because after that, it's going to be a very far away fish for you. So this dock will soon become pretty useless for Viper. He's got like 4 deep fish to take. MBL's dock is quite nice. In the right side, pretty much untouched, so he should have a nice little fish boom over here for himself. Alright. So Lan knows nothing about the opponent's positions for the time being. You are gonna have Viper also kind of blind on the opponent. You have MBL, sort of the same thing over here, but he could actually lose that turkey. Now notice this, if MBL keeps sending this turkey towards this direction, he might bump into the TC. And if he loses that turkey, he's going to know that there is someone over there, and it has to be their opponent, right? So if this turkey actually moves in this direction, you're going to see this turkey being lost and a patch like this ending. And that's how you actually determine if there is someone over there. Alright. So, we are gonna have MBL as Smiley ends in green, and it appears he's gonna have a nice little base to play around with. Berries right next to it, Boar is close, Gold, Stone, of Wood right next to it. This is like a pure, perfect town center location for MBL. Hey Mongolia, hello. Meanwhile, Viper's TC spot isn't bad either, but that's actually a pretty unlucky boar spawn because he's gonna have to walk all the way around. He's gonna bring in that boar first. We'll probably grab Loom to do so. Everybody is at 11 villagers with the exception of TaToH, interestingly. So, not sure what happened to TaToH here. Maybe he had to delay his TC a tiny bit, but he's got cheaper fishing ships, so he's gonna be able to compensate. And indeed, he's only on one fishing ship, everybody else is on two, so that kind of explains why he's behind Nico. Alright, so what does MBL see here? Not sure where he lost that turkey at. I don't think he knows about land just yet. And I don't think that Viper knows about land either. Land might go completely unnoticed in this little corner, because one thing that you rarely expect when you're playing Nomad is your opponent being that far out in the edge of the map. And that's going to be an interesting one to look at. Like, Viper and MBL will also be scouting in this direction more like, because you have higher chances of finding resources in this direction than in this direction, close to the edge of the map. So, if land goes completely unnoticed, he could do an awful lot of damage to Viper and MBL here. Anyways, we got the villager running around here for Lan. Does Lan see that boar? Oh, that's so bad for him. He doesn't see that boar, and he sees the TC of MBL, like clearly sees it. So he actually saw it with a villager and not turkey. And that means that MBL might know about his neighbor here as well. For now, Lan is a little bit low on food, which is kind of bad for him. This is one of the reasons why he's sending out his villager to run around. And it turns out MBL is also looking for huntables to collect. Both players out here are a little bit low on food. MBL is gonna bump into that board though, whereas Lan, is he gonna lame that stone? It kind of feels like he is about to lame it, or at least take a look at it to see if MBL is going to tower him. But if Lan is thinking about towering his opponents here, which is fairly reasonable, then he could actually think about laming that stone. For now, he just makes a house there, which means that if MBL starts taking it, Lan should be able to see that. Anyways, it's so unlucky for Lan that he isn't seeing that boar. It's just one tile too far. It's a nice little shorefish is going to help, but Lan is just so low on food. He's just far away from all boars. I think Viper lost turkey to Lansville. I don't think so. You don't see any of these dead patches. Like, if Viper lost a turkey to Lan, you would see a patch that ends here. And you don't see any of that. I don't think Viper knows. He might, but I don't think he does. Anyways, TaToH and Lan will have their docks up here. And we have Viper and MBL both going to feudal. None of the Spanish players is actually going up. Now Lan clicks up, sends villagers to gold here. His food count is disturbingly low to just FC this one. So this isn't gonna happen that way. TaToH? I think TaToH is the one FCing it, which would actually mean that Lan is the one fighting on water, but now Lan is going for stone with 2. What is this game plan from Spain here? TaToH is going full fish boom, by the way. Like, Omega Greed fish boom right now. 30 villagers for him. Fish booming on multiple positions. MBL is free on gold. Viper is making a barrack. So MBL is gonna push on water. And Viper, this is... this could be an FC from Viper, although I think that he's gonna play with scouts because he's rushing that up with 3 villagers. So he wants to play scouts. I think that at this point, the sole purpose of having scouts here is just to find the opponent, and then once he finds it, he can decide what he wants to do. Probably will continue with the scouts aggression nonetheless. Now, that being said, MBL is gonna have fire galleys coming out in huge quantities on all of his docks, and I feel like Spain is gonna get smashed on water, because Lan has 1 dock, TaToH has 1 dock over here. Who is going to fight on water? I have no idea. TaToH invested way too much into fishing eco to just let it die, that's for sure. So, they can't just give up water that easily. And it turns out that Lan is actually FCing this. I don't think Viper knows about Lan just yet. There's no way. There is no way Viper knows about Lan. He might actually find out using the scouts, but I feel like he's not going to look there. Because why would you assume that someone is in this little corner? Especially if you look at MBL scouting. Look at MBL. He's like, oh, he's not here. Like, he's not in this corner. Viper knows about this position. So they just don't believe that Lan is here. If MBL actually is a little bit luckier with that turkey, he would have found this TC. But basically Lan is at the perfect hiding spot here, and that could be a disaster for Norway. Because if Lan gets a castle up here, for example, suddenly Viper's base is completely exposed to Conquistador's raiding, and same thing for MBL. That being said, TaToH apparently is FCing this one as well, and I wonder if the plan is fast castle fire ships to get the water back. MBL's in here with a bunch of fire galleys, so it's not gonna be easy for Spain to keep these fishing ships alive, but honestly, TaToH isn't far away from clicking up with the Italians, and I believe that Lan knows about Viper now. Because he actually walled in his Voyagers. And if you look at Viper, he's looking for everything. Just scouting this side because they assume that Lan has to be here. They know TaToH is here, they know that this part is clear, so they're like, okay, Lan has to be here somewhere. But he's not, because he's hiding in here, in this corner. Anyway, some scouts are on the field, and that's gonna make life pretty hard for TaToH, but it's not like they are going to inflict a lot of damage, because these Voyagers are walled in, Lumberjacks are safe as well. The problem for TaToH is that he's losing a lot of fish, so does Lan. Lan is at 26 eco, but Lan is almost up to castle. And when it reaches castle age, he can drop that castle over there, or he could castle drop MBL. He knows about MBL's position, and what is MBL going to drop or do to prevent that? Nothing. TaToH is gonna lose his fishing eco, yes, but at this point it's more about, okay, Spain is losing the fish, but what is MBL going to do to stop this? He can't stop it. It's Spanish builders dropping a castle in your face. MBL is gonna be like, what the hell? Where did this come from? Because they don't believe that this guy is here, and boy, he is. And that's going to force MBL to run away from what is otherwise a perfect TC spot. I wonder if even MBL is reacting to this. Because I think MBL is fighting on water and he doesn't even assume that this is happening. This is the moment when he's pinging it. And that's a TC down for MBL. He might as well delete it, because this is gonna go down anyways. And here come the Conquistadors, mass migration from MBL over here. Viper's gonna have to send the camel or the cavalry over here. And as I said, that was TaToH's grand plan. Fast castle into war galley upgrade and now take the water back and then go for the fish boom. We'll see if that works out. But it could very well work out, especially considering that MBL is not gonna be able to fight for the water anytime soon. Like, he's just running for his life right now. And this mass migration is not something that you want to see if you're playing Nomad, that's for sure. And that could potentially make Viper lose his fishing eco, potentially MBL could lose his fishing eco as well. Lan is still at a disturbingly low Voyager count, and oh, Lan! Oh, that's so bad. How did this even happen? These Voyagers were supposed to be walled, and now he's down to 26 wheels. I think TaToH could still sling Lan, but the problem is that Viper and MBL still have good eco. So, like, TaToH needs to be able to finish off MBL's fishing eco and Viper's fishing eco. Otherwise, Norway is just gonna outboom Spain. And the other thing is that Lan has to be extremely aggressive with the Conquistadors. Like, super aggressive, just keep pushing, keep pressuring. Make sure that there is no safe moment for Viper or MBL to just not give them any breathing room. Anyways, there is a monastery up for Viper, but he's getting housed, trying to get some camels out on the field. That should be a dead Voyager, which should solve the housing issues. Kill the Will. Why didn't Lan kill the Will? I have no idea, but he's gonna turn back for time being. As I said, MBL is still feudal, so they are going to lose their fishing eco, and that's where it's going to be great. MBL isn't really going to be a factor for some time. Viper will be busy dealing with Lan. This gives a full fish boom for TaToH. Because once TaToH wins the water, he's going to use the cheaper Italian fishing ships to go for an ultimate fish boom and just outboom the Norwegians here pretty heavily. Now, Lan isn't on stone anymore, but now he's making a mining camp over here, so I assume he wants to drop a second castle sometime soon, but he needs to be a little bit more aggressive with those conquistadors. Just run around, try to kill villagers. Wherever you go, just be aggressive with them, because Viper is on 2 TCs, remember that. So it's not like you can just sit around and chill. You want to be as aggressive as possible. You also want to grab husbandry quite fast, so you can actually do better hit and run plays. And look at all the red in the water now. That's what is going to happen here. TaToH's going to start making fishing ships, and Viper is going to lose his fish. MBL still has some fish in the right side, but I mean, eventually it's going to go down to fire ships here. And TaToH's going to grab ultimate control over the water with the support of the conquistadors. Viper is on free? Yes, he is, actually. I didn't see the third TC here. In that case, you really have to be aggressive, because Viper, especially with cheaper Indian villagers, he's gonna be able to just boom up like crazy and flood the map with camels. So it's not over just yet. In fact, TaToH needs to push pressure this corner. He needs to clean this one up. There's a lot of cleaning up to be done for TaToH. But he's doing a lot of damage, and it's now in his hand to just boom up in the sky. 48 villagers for him, and he's gonna drop a second TC. We'll have a fishing eco out there. But you want to use those conks to something, right? If you're Lan, like, see, that's stone mine, and that could be free dead villagers for MBL. Perfect. You know that MBL run in this direction? Try to find MBL. Like, everything is better than just sitting back at home with the conquistadors. When you're playing conks, you have to be always proactive on Nomad, and just run around. Try to do as much damage as you can. What is MBL up to? MBL is gonna go war galley, so he's not ready to give up on the water just yet. But I feel like they have already lost too much control over the water. MBL still has some fire galleys ready, so he's going to fight for the water. But the problem is that he's going to be exposed to conquistadors. Unlucky for Lan that he didn't find MBL's base. Oh, that's so unlucky. He's looking for MBL, but he can't find him. Eventually, he's going to turn back and see that MBL is here. And look at TaToH. That's double pings. He's probably like either here or here. I love that play from TaToH, because now he's going to show MBL's base to Lan, and Lan is going to be able to harass MBL here. And meanwhile, Viper, I mean, he is booming on free TCs, but he doesn't have a consistent food income just yet. Just 16 on farms and losing the fishing eco. So, it's not perfect for Viper just yet. Lan is at 39 villagers, but MBL is at 37, so despite the fact that Lan actually lost some villagers on the stone mine, and also that he's going 1 TC build, he's actually completely alright with villager count. MBL is trying to go water with demo ships, and he's getting quite a lot of nice demo hits in, but he's still very far from actually being a factor and like pressuring TaToH's fishing eco. That being said, that fire galley could actually do quite a lot of damage, but look at TaToH's fish, 64, and TaToH is a big fish boomer. Like, probably if you look at who are the players that like to fish boom the most, it's Viper and TaToH probably. So, TaToH's fish boom here is really going to materialize at some point. And remember, he has an untouched eco. And Lan is just able to pressure both Viper and MBL. And that's where it really starts to show. Like, MBL, he will constantly lose 1 or 2 wheels to conquistadors diving, and there is no way you can always react in time. See? One dead, they jump into the TC. You're just never able to react immediately to deal with this one. And Viper is at 59 villagers. He's under heavy pressure, and Viper has to invest into army, whereas TaToH doesn't have to. He has to go for fish. That's no conversions, very unlucky for Viper over there. It's 3 monks down for nothing. By the way, the conquistadors do not have bloodlines just yet. I don't think they have husbandry either. I think now TaToH is gonna be able to clean up the left side. He sees the docks. I think he's going to find out. I think he just found out about the docks. But he's gonna be able to clean this one up over here. MBL is still fighting with TaToH, but TaToH has a crazy fish boom, 78 villagers, and the second castle being dropped in the face of Viper. It turns out that Spain could actually make life very hard for Norway here on Nomad, because now Viper has to mass migrate. And you can't just mass migrate all the time, because you are going to have a huge amount of idle time. That's 2 TCs lost for Viper, plus a monastery as well that's going to have the relics inside. And yeah, this is cleaned up, but at this point Lan can just say, who cares? I'm going to be able to take down 2 TCs from Viper over here, and Viper's gonna have to run. Behind this, TaToH completely untouched, 88 villagers, and the nice thing for him is that if he cleans this one up here, he's just gonna have to hold this choke point and he can just fish boom in a corner. I wonder how many fishing ships TaToH has, but probably quite a lot. Yeah, it's like 20-ish fishing ships for TaToH right now. It's crazy. Conquistador is now diving beneath the TC and running past it for now. And as I said, I feel like we're getting to a stage where TaToH is gonna start becoming a factor on land. Because he's making a castle, look at those resources. And considering that the only army that they're facing is Viper's Camos, it could be Genoese crossbows for him. Bloodlines are on the way for Lan, he's gonna need husbandry as well. What I would love to see from Lan is a battering ram, because that would help taking these TCs down and progressing a little bit faster. Viper is on 5 TCs and he's still using these TCs to make vills. He wants to reboom as fast as possible, so he's trying to run villagers from this TC over here. Meanwhile, MBL's water aggression is more or less getting cleaned up. Viper is losing his only dock, so not a lot of water remaining anymore for Norway. And in the meanwhile, as I said, what really is the key is TaToH's untouched boom. Now that being said, Viper is at 88 villagers, so he's getting to a dangerous will count, and I feel like TaToH or Lan should actually be pressuring villagers a lot more with the Conquistadors. Right now, they are just running around trying to take down TCs, but they should be killing vills because, well, Viper is gonna get to Imperial at some point as well, at this rate. Now, TaToH on the way to Imp himself. Skirms will be mixed in by Viper. MBL still isn't really a factor, but he's at 75 vills, so clock is ticking for Spain here. Because Lan is only at 47 vills. So yeah, I mean, TaToH could actually snowball the game very fast, but MBL is gonna start becoming a factor pretty soon as well with Malians, and Farimba Cavalier or Farimba Camos can snowball the game very fast. Ballistics coming in, and the Genoese crossbow bombard cannon is the play for TaToH, and I guess what they're just going to try and focus on is just being as annoying as possible, take down TCs, and prevent the opponent from really getting their eco back on track, because, like, Viper is now, I think, back on track after having to mass migrate his villagers, and I just don't like how passive Lan is with those Conquistadors. He should be running around, trying to pick off some villagers over here, send some over here as well, because he's pretty much chilling back at home, but he cannot afford to chill back when he only has 53 villagers. When you're playing of 1 TC, or now it's 2, but it used to be a 1 TC unique unit play, you have to be aggressive with those unique units, otherwise you're just gonna get outboomed. And, well, guess what? Conquistadors in good numbers can eat the Camos. This is why I'm saying that you should just dive in. You could easily take that. Viper is gonna try and get a castle up on that hill. That's something that I think that Lan has to try and stop. MBL University is up. He's not super far away from clicking Imp, but here it is. Genoese crossbows from TaToH, even blocking the escape path for Viper's Vulture. Second TC in, and that's gonna be Bombard Cannon pretty soon. Lan still needs to be a little bit more aggressive with the conks, because otherwise it's going to give Viper and MBL time to come back into this game, because MBL is at 96 villagers. Combined villager count is pretty much even, but it shouldn't be even. The Conquistador should be killing villagers left and right. TaToH comes in with the ballistics, Gembos, picks off a few of those villagers on the wood line, and yes, this is exactly what Lan should do. Just run around and go get that TC. Like, you can even dive beneath the TC, because I don't think Viper can fit all the villagers inside and kill 10 villagers. You can't just sit back with those Conquistadors. If Spain loses this game, it's gonna be because Lan is too passive with the Conquistadors, and now trying to go 4 TC boom. 4 TC boom is fine here for him, because they're preparing for a longer game. That's gonna be a very aggressive castle by TaToH, I believe. Indeed, they want to pretty much trap this army in here. Remember that there are some elite skirms on the field for Viper, so the Genoese crossbows will not be as useful as they could possibly be, and the Conquistadors will loop around to try and help in this fight. If TaToH gets this castle up, it's actually great, because they will absolutely sandwich Viper and MBL in between the two of them. And that could be a lot of villagers lost. Now, MBL is getting champ scars on the field, and that's something to pay attention for. As I said, by the way, we got Fast Fire Ship coming in here as well for TaToH, so he wants to preserve his water control. but the champ scars will actually be reasonable against the Genoese crossbows. In the group stage, I believe we saw Ryut beating a Conquistador play with champ scars as well. So it's a little bit tricky, but yeah, see, this is the one when you have to smash Norway. Like, you have to be able to kill this entire thing here. Lan is playing this one super safe indeed, going for 76 Vogers now. Still getting some Conquistadors out, but I have a feeling that he wants to go for Cavalier at some point. And MBL once again has to do mass migration. He's still not so close to Chemska. I think he has Longswordsmen in. No, it's just Men-at-Arms, which is far from perfect. And now once you have Bombard Cans, once you have Trebs, they can take this down. I like that MBL could lose the Blacksmith. TaToH should finish that Blacksmith off. Because if you finish that Blacksmith off, then it's going to delay the tech switch from MBL, and this is a good use of those conks. Go into MBL's base and get him killed. A castle comes in here from TaToH as well. Might need some quick walls because Men-at-Arms will be coming in soon to be longswords. But it turns out Viper, with his imp, he probably wants to trap down this castle over here. But they're really being cornered right now. And they are actually going in for a kill on MBL and not Viper. This castle in the face of MBL. MBL is going to start losing Vogers. Lan is up to 86 Vogers himself, and Condottieri will appear on the field from TaToH to just get some ultimate rating damage done. And MBL dropping in the Vogers down to 90, so Lan is actually going to surpass him in terms of Voger numbers. This is a little bit ambitious castle from Lan, who is still castle age. So this might actually be very, very troublesome. But Condos should deal with the elite skirms. And now the conks are inside here. MBL is going to lose quite a lot of Vogers. He's getting the champ scars up though. Like, Longswordman is already in. But I feel like you need to be a little bit more aggressive pushing Viper from this angle. Because Viper is getting to a dangerous Voger count and a dangerous position. He's even camping down the bottom of that castle with the skirmishers to prevent repairs. But Lan, 90 Vogers, MBL is down to 76, and that's actually pretty bad. He's not gonna be able to get decks in for the long swords. Now it's 200 swordsmen, but I mean, he's gonna have nowhere to run very, very soon. Like, MBL is gonna lose a bunch of Vogers, he's gonna be down to 50. So at this point, especially considering that Viper is gonna sandwich in between two players, this should be Spain's game. And Lan, I think he's considering going into Imperial here. He still has a bunch of Conquistadors on the field that should be running around killing Vogers. Apparently, TaToH doesn't really have the barracks to spam the Condottieri from right now, which is weird because he's floating 2000 Voot, so he could just drop like 10 more barracks and just flood the Condottieri across the map. On the water, it seems like everything is peaceful. Norway has some water control with MBL having some fish. And, well, TaToH still having a huge amount of fishing eco. Here come the Conquistadors. This is the home map of Norway, by the way, and we're gonna have cavalry archers from Viper, which is not a bad idea if you think about that, especially considering that Indian cav archers are nice. The only problem is that they will struggle against Genoese crossbows, and it's not like you can hit and run, because there is nowhere to run here for Viper. He's just so cornered in here. Lan trying desperately to repair that castle. I feel like if Viper focused down this castle with free traps, this is something that Lan would lose. Lan is on the way to Imperial, so even if he loses these two castles, I feel like Lan is in a good spot because MBL is so dead. Now you have the Conquistadors in here, and they're just killing so much from Viper. Viper is still 129 Vogers, but it's dropping fast. And how do you stop Genoese crossbows that melt the majority of your units and Condottieri? MBL is trying to spam champ scars here. The problem is that Lan has 100 Vogers, and Lan is gonna get Cavalier here probably very soon. Yes, he's losing the front of his base, but this is the moment when Lan, indeed getting the stables up, wants to get Cavalier, and Cavalier will smash the 200 swordsman. Plus, Norway is completely cornered in here. So, it's also a matter of how much space do you have, how much resources do you have in this little corner. I mean, Norway is doing a very, very good job of aggressively pushing the left side, but once the Cavalier arrive from Lan, there should be no trouble. For him, he is using this TC to imp. That's a wise decision from him. And now traps will be set up to take that castle down. MBL is getting the champ scars out on the field, and honestly, Lan is still in trouble here. because that's a lot of elite skirms and champ scars heading his way. We're gonna have elite Gembos, I believe, for TaToH. Cav archers should die to Gembos very easily. That's not even close. So it's a matter of what can Lan do here. He doesn't have a lot of upgrades on those knights right now, and he's losing another castle. Lan is being pushed back pretty hard over here, down to 97 villagers. Champ scars are being pretty dangerous, and as much as Norway has nowhere to run, Lan has nowhere to run either. We're gonna have, I think that's Pavise coming in here for TaToH. Indeed it is. And TaToH could still snowball this one, because he has hand cannoners available as well to deal with the champ scars. But I think that they would prefer Lan to be a factor as well. Lan, he could be slung by TaToH a tiny bit. I think TaToH has quite a lot of resources that he could actually send to Lan. And once you get to Cavalier, even with just +2 defense, you might be able to start taking fights against the swordsmen. So it's not going to be efficient, but swordsmen aren't really meant to kill cavalry. And there isn't really anything that Norway can do to kill the cavalry here right now. Just a few camos on the field, but I mean, cavaliers will be more than satisfactory to deal with this one. Lan is down to 51 villagers though. So it's a who dies slower type of a thing. If Lan can just delay this push by some time and kind of force MBL and Viper to stay here and not advance in this direction and expand that way, TaToH is going to be able to snowball the game. But if Lan dies faster than the Norwegians do, this could still be a game for Norway, even though now MBL is down to 30 military, and that's scary. That's the scary part for Norway right now. Lan has taken huge beating, but Norway, their push on the left side stalled out. In fact, these skirms will get cleaned up. And TaToH's push didn't stall out on the right side. That's the difference. That Norway's push is actually dead here. And yes, Lan is down to 51 villagers, but TaToH can probably slinking some resources. And he's still 2 TCs, making a third one, so he can actually get back to like 70-ish villagers right now. And all his job right now is to delay. Because TaToH has all the map control in the world. 14,000 points, by far the best in the game. In fact, better than the combined score. Almost better than the combined score of the Norwegian team. And yeah, this is exactly what Lan has to do. Just be as annoying as it is humanly possible and force Norway to defend the back against the Cavalier. Like, this forces Viper to bring in the Cav Archers here, because the Cav Archers are kind of useless against the Gembos. But, I mean, generally his crossbows, condottieri should be able to slowly grind through these bases, and I feel like MB is losing the barracks faster than he can actually replace them. That being said, you would still prefer to have something that kills the swordsman, but it doesn't really matter, because I think Viper and MB will understand that Viper has 63 army. That's actually huge. But where are they gonna go? I mean, when these Cavaliers show up over here, they will just steamroll everything, and this is the problem for Viper. This is the problem. They just have nowhere to go. It's not necessarily them running out of units or running out of eco. It's about running out of space. They got cornered in here so hard, and it turns out that it was a sick game by TaToH, but also a very good game by Lan. And I have to say, I don't like sounding my opinion about luck in tournaments, but this was also a lucky game for Spain. Because the fact that they didn't notice Lan here is huge. Lan had an untouched fast castle despite being right next to 2 Norwegian players, and was able to drop a castle in the face of MBL. That is what started the snowball. In fact, I feel like Lan was even a little bit too passive with the Conquistadors, should have been a lot more aggressive. He went for the full boom. I could have imagined him just playing Conquistador Battering Ram, full Castle Age, and just steamroll the buildings instead of actually trying to get up to Imp. But, well, it is what it is. He allowed TaToH to just have an untouched boom. And that's basically snowball. Like, if you look at the resource of TaToH, it's by far the best. He even stung a little bit to Lan, but that is because, as I said, TaToH was completely untouched. Look at that Imp time for TaToH. Much better than everybody else. And with that, Spain equals things out, and suddenly it doesn't look as bad as it looked like after 2 games for them. After 2 games, I kind of got scared that Norway is gonna clap them, but it turns out that maybe Spain wasn't warmed up well, or whatever. The first games weren't that particularly bad either for Spain, if you think about that. Like, the thing is that first game, TaToH got absolutely smashed by a Drush and then the Knights, so Yeah, it happens. Not something that I have to blame them for by a massive margin. Game number 2, Chaos Pit. It wasn't a bad game. It was just a matter of they died to Shadow Warriors. That was it. But game number 3 and 4, they played really well. And now we are in a position where we are going to see another home map from Norway. Ghost Lake or Valley. Let's take a look at the remaining civs. Indians are gone. And Malians are gone as well. I just had to think about what Civ MBL was. And Spain loses Italians, and Spain loses Spanish. So, for Ghost Lake, you're probably going Cuman's Vietnamese then. And for Valley, you play Portuguese Khmer maybe? You could technically play Khmer on Ghost Lake as well. That would be an interesting one to look at. Because Khmer could do a very, very fast castle if you play it that way. So I see Khmer being useful on multiple maps here. But it might be reserved for Team Acropolis. We'll see how that goes. But I think that Cuman's Vietnamese is very likely for Ghost Lake. And then for Valley, you pick either Khmer or Slavs. And then the other one is going to go for Team Acropolis. And probably Portuguese and... we'll see about Japanese, where it's going to get used. Maybe Japanese isn't going to be used at all. We're going to see Koreans. We'll see how that goes. Norway. For Ghost Lake, I guess Vikings, and they haven't used up their Berbers. Now, yeah, that's an interesting one to point out indeed, as you're saying on the chat. They have Caravos for Valley. If you have seen the Russia versus Norway series, Russia... Actually, I have a story to tell about this one. Russia actually went for Caravos on... on Valley, trying to prevent the opponent from getting through the river. And I was actually casting that with T90, and I was actually part of the interview as well. It was my first ever interview, and I was super nervous, so I wasn't really prepared to ask questions. But one of the questions I actually came up in mind is that I actually sounded it like this. Do you think that you would ever potentially consider using a modified version of this Caravel play? And Viper's response was basically that probably not, but he also added a little bit later on that the only civ that he sees this strategy work with is Vikings. Because Vikings would have longboats. The problem with the Caravel play on Valley, because in case you don't know, Valley has little ponds in the middle, but that's all sailable by ships, and that's what Russia tried. They tried going for Caravels to block the entire middle of the map and block enemy units from passing. They lost because Caravels struggle stopping siege rams. However, there is one ship that is fast enough to really control the entire middle, and that is capable of destroying siege rams, and that's longboats. Longboats are capable of doing both. So there is actually a legitimate chance that Valley might end up being a Vikings play from Norway. I don't think they're gonna go for that because I think it's too crazy, and from what I've heard from Viper, I don't think he believes that it's a great strategy. On the other hand, he might just have been, you know, doing a poker face type of a thing, and maybe they are considering doing that. Anyways, we are gonna have an interesting lineup of civs here. We're going to Valley, and there is the Vikings for MBL. And there is the Portuguese for TaToH. Let's go! Caravel versus Longboat on the little river in the middle of the map. You're going to soon see what river I'm talking about. But it could technically be Caravel versus Longboat. Bulgarians is interesting from Viper as well. We'll see how that goes, because that's an early Bulgarians pick. Here we are jumping into game number 5 in this best of 7. It's an even score right now. We're gonna have Norway playing on the southern part of the map with Bulgarians in blue for Viper, MBL's Vikings in green, red for Portuguese is TaToH, and yellow is Slavs for LAN. So this is what I was talking about. You can actually only build docks where the blue parts, so the little ponds, actually meet the land, like the greenish land. But you can actually sail on these brownish sandy patches. Don't ask me why that is like that. But basically what the Russia did is make a dock at the very, very edge of the map. And then start making caravels and have those caravels sail all the way through and control this entire river. It didn't work out. They actually had their numbers up, so it was actually a full lock. The problem is that the Portuguese caravels just don't kill the siege rams, but Viking longboats do. We have an aggressive move up from TaToH over here. Are old Portuguese good enough? Interesting question on chat, indeed. I think yes, Portuguese are very underrated as an archer civ, and they also have to remember that basically all the civs in the game are actually drafted in this one. 34 civs out of 35 available in the game are drafted or banned in this draft, which means that even if Portuguese weren't an amazing archer civ, you have to play them at some point, because you're not gonna have Ethiopians available all the time. But Portuguese, I think, are still reasonable. 20% less gold cost on your units is horribly underrated for an archer civ. And also you get free cartography, which helps a tiny bit when you're trying to coordinate moves in early game, like villager pickoffs, laming attempts potentially. It's not really a huge thing, but it's something at least. Anyways, we got free on wood for LAN, as you would expect. I don't like that there is an isolated villager over there. You want to group your free villas up or have this one villager quick walled in, as it is like that. And that could be a villager kill. Or not. MBL went for like a super early loom here, and he's walling himself off very early on. For now, both Viper and MBL are lurking for villas here. This is going to be an attack indeed. They will commit to this. Oh, oops. Here it is, and there is no loom for LAN. And this is where things went wrong in game number 1. Same thing happened to TaToH. That's how it all started. And that's not great for LAN. I feel like you have to be prepared for this against these players, because you know Viper and MBL love to play aggressively, and now they pick off a villager from LAN. The good news for LAN is that it's not the end of the world, because the thing is that he's still Slavs, which has a strong eco, and this is a very vulnerable map. So even if you lose a villager, your opponent might not be able to immediately punish you for that. Now, worth pointing out that LAN's primary goal is actually pretty bad. Normally, Valley is a very vulnerable map, so players usually have no trouble walling themselves, like MBL for example. Easy wall off here, he's gonna wall here. This right side is a little bit trickier, but it's not really a big deal for him either. It depends on how he decides he wants to wall himself, but should be like this, 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 and this. And you wall it like this here. So, easy wall offs for MBL. Viper can easily wall himself off as well. I feel like the real question is how LAN is gonna wall that gold mine, because that's not so great. He might just go with this gold and just leave it on the leave this on the outside, and then TC this one later on. That could work. Anyways, one villager behind is LAN, thanks to MBL and Viper killing a will from them, and everybody else has loom. So the only way that Spain is gonna get a revenge for that and kill a villager with scouts is if they have their scouts together. Like, you just can't kill that will with one scout. Viper is also ready to look at that. So what is the Bulgarians' plan here for Viper? I have no idea. Bulgaria is actually a reasonable civ to be a cavalry civ, so it's not the most awful civ ever. It's a type of a civ where it does its thing good as a cavalry civ, not necessarily with the conics. You probably are going to play knights, simply. But there are just better civs than it. Like, Stirup's Cavalier is actually pretty dangerous in late game. Like, I would compare Bulgarians in terms of army quality to Malians a tiny bit. They don't have Paladin, but their Cavalier is actually special. Viper coming in here with what is a barracks and what is probably gonna be a scouts play in this case, still free on wood. So indeed, Viper is gonna play scouts here, and that could actually benefit them because LAN isn't walled yet. I'm not necessarily a big fan of the scouts plays, because if your opponent is fully walled, which is easy to do on this map, like MBL is already finished with the walls basically, then the scouts will achieve nothing. Now MBL does not see that hole, and let's see if he actually scouts that. This is something he should scout. Take the villager, right click on the outside, and if the villagers actually start walking in this direction all the way around, then there is a hole there. And that's not something MBL is doing. He's going to leave a hole here, which could actually have a significant impact on the game. Lan is going to go for some very, very passive walls over here. So super small, very, very tight. I would want him to drop a wall here, or like that. That's also good. That's also an interesting shape of walling for him. And what Lan is doing is 20 villagers up, which is equivalent to 21 right now. Like, it would be a 21 pop-up. Actually, it would be a 22 pop-up, because it's 21 pop right now, and it would be 22 with the uptime he has, because he lost the villager. Anyways, TaToH is going for what is a naked FC over here, just like MBL. So full walls, just go straight into Castle Age. And it turns out Viper is actually going for Men-at-Arms. So it's a Men-at-Arms into Scouts play here with Bulgarians. Not something that we commonly see, but definitely something that you can consider when you're playing a 2v2 scenario. One thing that you gain with a Men-at-Arms Scouts play is that if you look at Viper's uptime, it's actually pretty much comparable to a Scouts player's uptime. However, you are going to have 3 Men-at-Arms on the field already instead of just starting to make the stable and go for scouts. Now, if all the players are walled, it's very likely Viper isn't even gonna bother making scouts, and he's just gonna grab the fuel age upgrade. So double bit axe and horse collar, and he's just gonna boom his way up to Castle Age. Let's see if Lan is gonna try and pick a villager off here. He shouldn't really commit to that, because there are a bunch of villagers around, and you can actually send them back to the TC. But yeah, Viper is just booming here. He's just going full boom. Lan kind of doing the same thing. In fact, this was a planned feudal age into boom from the first moment. And honestly, Slavs can pretty much beat Bulgarians in that aspect easily. So even though Lan is one villager behind the Viper, it shouldn't really be a big deal, to be honest, for Lan. Now that being said, these Men-at-Arms are actually being a little bit annoying over here, but not something that's like impossible to overcome. So TaToH's gonna have to commit like a villager or so to repair these buildings, but he should be able to keep those Men-at-Arms on the outside, and they're gonna gang up on the villagers of Viper. So let's see if Viper actually notices this one. They were waiting for TaToH's scout to be in feudal age, so they can both have their extra speed and attack, and they will try to isolate the villager and pick it off. For now, these Men-at-Arms aren't bashing their way in, and the TaToH should have no trouble getting the food he needs. He's gonna go for straight naked FC crossbowman play. For now, MBL is also about to click up over here. And if you look at Lan, not far away from Castle Age, Viper a little bit behind compared to his opponent. Still, these Men-at-Arms are a little bit annoying for TaToH, but not something that he really has to worry about right now. What are these villagers up to? These villagers may be scouted by MBL Scout over here, but what are they up to? Are these gonna be sneaky villagers? Because you never know. After seeing the games that Russia played, you never know if MBL wants to dock and go longboats. And maybe they think MBL wants to go longboats and control the middle. And because of that, they might be sneaking villagers here. So they are gonna have a foothold on the other side of the river. In case MBL really goes for the longboats. Now, that being said, there are actually Men-at-Arms breaking inside. TaToH didn't really react to them in time. There is some archers on the field for him, so he should be able to clean this one up, and quick walls are set. So the really tricky thing when you are doing this is that your opponent still has his starting scouts alive, and they are so good at just picking off those few archers. I think TaToH needs to make a spearman. If he makes a spearman, he can actually scare away the scouts relatively easily. Nice micro so far from him, but he's getting a lot of idle time on his eco. And we got MBL coming in here with archers as well. Not something to underestimate. This is really not something to underestimate. And let's see if TaToH is gonna go for a forward siege workshop maybe. Once you have like 3 or 4 archers out here for TaToH, something that he's grabbing right now, you should have no trouble defending as this one. You are going to have enough firepower to just hit and run the scouts. And eventually TaToH should have no trouble cleaning this one up. Nice move. Picks off the scout first. MBL trying to block this one, but that's not going to happen. And there is going to be land scout arriving. At the end of the day, nice cleanup from TaToH. Didn't lose anything, I believe. So this is actually very nice done. And these villagers are relentlessly marching forward. So I wonder what the real plan is here for TaToH. There is still an archer inside, but that should have no problems caused to TaToH. Anyways, Len is on the way towards Castle Age. MBL is up, Viper is up, or like Viper has clicked up right now. And what is TaToH up to? TaToH is stonewalling himself. Stonewall forward siege workshop. Yeah, I was expecting something like that. So probably the plan here for Spain is indeed, before I saw this table, I was like, okay, if you go forward siege workshop with TaToH, full stone walls, that means that you want to make sure that TaToH doesn't get hit by archers. And that is going to happen. MBL's archers aren't really going to get through stone walls, that's for sure. So what you can do is play siege workshop, double Viper, and go triple stable knights here, because you want to focus down Viper. Now that being said, this goldmine is a little bit exposed to crossbowman aggression. Like, I think a crossbow from here can kill this villager. So I'm not 100% convinced this is going to work well, but I mean, TaToH can make a few crossbows himself, and he could actually clean this one up. Not noticing the crossbows up until this point, here's the micro war. TaToH is without Botkin, which is an alarming sign for MBL. If he sees that, he could actually be suspicious that TaToH is doing something differently, and that's a beautiful heal for TaToH. Just rain down death and destruction on Viper, and remember that better castle age time is there for Lan. So Lan is already having 3 knights on the field, Monastery is gonna be coming in, and this is the moment when you unleash the mangonels and start pushing Viper. Viper is gonna be 2 stables, Lan is gonna be 3, and MBL is gonna have a slow moving army that isn't really capable of dealing with mangonels. I love this. And really, those stables will suffer from a huge amount of damage because those mangonels are firing down hills. Oh boy, I was muted for like half a minute. Oh shoot, sorry. Now I'm back. So what I was saying is that one of the wolves actually got killed and Viper was focusing on the wheels very, very smartly. But he's gonna lose the stable, he's gonna get Krapos out. But, I mean, Viper is under heavy pressure and MBL is here with the crossbows, but Mangonel and Knight aggression like that could actually do quite a lot of damage on Viper. So, did I mention that these crossbows could deny this gold mine? I think I did. I think I did. And yeah, TaToH might need to replace that mining camp with something like this, so it's actually safe. Anyways, they will now switch focus towards MBL, and crossbows could be easily picked off here by Lan. Lan, by the way, is playing with 1 TC only. I think he could actually afford a second TC now. They don't need to go triple knights or triple stable knights all in anymore. Because Viper's at 45 views, Lan is at 45 as well. MBL's got a sick eco, and remember that the Arbalest and Siege Ram power spike of Vikings is always a scary thing to fight against. So this is the moment where Viper doesn't have cavalry on the field. Viper has 0 army. So you're just gonna bring in a cavalry and try to smash MBL. Because MBL's got 17 army. There is 21 knights on the field for LAN. And we could have Siege Workshop here as well, try to knock down MBL's base. And the beautiful thing about this one is that you could just keep sending knights towards Viper's base to try and intercept the reinforcements coming in from him. It's going to be awfully hard for MBL to defend against this one, but he's able to afford a castle. Nice rewalls with stone walls over here, as LAN is desperately trying to get into the base of MBL. Oh, this is so hard, because MBL can snowball a game very, very easily with Arbalest and Imperial Age. A scout is on the way for Viper, and it is going to kill one monk, and then it gets converted. There is double Siege Workshops from TaToH, so they're committing everything they have to this one. What is Viper up to? Viper is on 3 TCs, but just booming. Full boom from Viper. This might be a little bit too greedy, but it depends. TaToH and LAN have to punish Viper and MBL right now, otherwise they're in trouble. Because both Viper and MBL now have way better eco than they do. And, like, look at that. TaToH is at 44 villagers, 50 for LAN, 59 for Viper, and 78 for MBL. They really have to punish MBL here for this huge boom that he's having. And honestly, if MBL gets a castle up here, I think MBL is in a very good position to just snowball this one. And honestly, it might not be Arbs and Siege Rams, it might be Berserks. Berserks with Chieftain's upgrade should be able to destroy everything, and I think Viper is just gonna sling MBL to Berserks here. Viper is gonna place not 3 TCs, he's playing 5 TCs. Remember, the stone cost is cheaper on Bulgarian town centers. And right now, I mean, MBL's got to save gold, and if Viper is just slinging him into either Arbs or Berserks, this could still work very, very well for Norway. Now, the condition is that if those knights get into the back of MBL's eco, MBL is like toast. Or the other option would be to get into Viper's eco. I think that ping is from LAN, so they really want to get back to Viper now. They realize that the mangonels will be enough to push MBL here anyways. And you want to finish that TC off. And now they're going back to Viper. It is the slinging player that is more exposed to attacks. So it makes sense to do that, but Viper's got Kraposts up, which is good enough to push back the Mangonel's aggression. The tricky thing is, how are you stopping knights from running past your TC and just running into your eco and just slaughtering everything? Because that's the real question. Alright, so knights are up here. Viper trying to quick wall this one in as fast as possible. Are they gonna jump the Krapost? The TC is going to help out with TC fire. You can't actually attack from this angle. I feel like LAN and TaToH are too slow with their push. They're going triple stable and Mangonel's aggression. This has to be very fast. Otherwise, you're gonna die. And you're gonna die because your opponents have 170 eco combined, you have 110. And from this moment on, what is gonna happen is that Viper is probably gonna be safe from this aggression, trying to reroll this one. Once the Mangonels arrive, things could change, but I mean, MB is already getting Squires, getting Berserks on the field, and Berserk Siege Ram go for TaToH, who is completely defenseless, and you could actually win the game now. Is that gonna be a Doubt Krapost? It could be a Doubt Krapost from Viper if TaToH focuses the fire. He is trying to stop that Krapost. It's at 87%, and that's a huge Doubt Krapost from Viper. 95, 97, he's trying to get it up, but Doubt is in the tournament, ladies and gentlemen. Viper down to 61 villagers, still trying to squeeze that Krapost in, and it eventually goes up. But that's not good for Viper, because now his TCs are being taken down from this direction as well. Viper's got some knights out here, so he's gonna try and pop that out, try to take down Mangonel. TaToH could actually get a conversion in. Viper is even taking the heal, so he can take that down a little bit faster. Conversion is in, and the TC is still up. And Viper is losing massive amounts of villagers. But what are you gonna do against the Berserks? There is actually Cavalry or Imperial Age coming in for LAN, and one thing that you are gonna have for the Slavs here is that they will have the mobility with the Cavaliers. And they could also go Drużyna champions, which should be able to have good trades here. And the Berserks for MBL need to be produced on castles, and that's a big bottleneck. MBL needs to use his castles to produce Berserk set, whereas LAN can just flood Cavalier from stables. And Viper, down to 64 villagers, same villager count as TaToH over here. And Viper, I mean, he's now making a few conics over here, villager is gonna get killed. Like, that was TaToH's will. I wonder if he tried making a tower here to just deny that wood line. Oh, this game is so tricky. This could still go either way. Because the Cavalier is something that could be enough for LAN to snowball the game with. But on the other hand, Berserks are actually meant with Chieftains to melt Cavalry. And there is a lead Berserk for MBL. But still missing quite a lot of upgrades, especially on the attack front. And the Cavalier will still have the mobility advantage. So this is still pretty tricky, I would say. Really not sure how Drużyna champions trade against Berserks. Because Berserks are actually pretty amazing against infantry, but it's still Drużyna, so it's a tricky one. I love the blacksmith being taken down here. By the way, Bulgarian team bonus is that the team blacksmith work faster, so... right? I think I'm right. Yeah, blacksmith work faster for team. Which means that MBL is benefiting from that one very, very hard when he's trying to get the upgrades in. And those are elite Berserks right now. One of the units that actually need the elite upgrade the most is Berserk. 14 attack compared to just 9. I think they also get 1 extra melee armor. So Berserks really need their elite upgrade to become efficient. Meanwhile, MBL trying to castle drop TaToH with free villagers, ladies and gentlemen. Not something that we have seen... so far, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think this is gonna happen for MBL. He's making a siege workshop here trying to go battering rams, so he probably wants to siege ram down TaToH, who is pretty exposed and who is preparing for a long game stonewalling off this part of the map. So they're really going for a long game now. Viper back to 84 villagers, TaToH at 76, and MBL's Berserk count is getting more and more concerning, but Cavalier is in, and I guess they're just trying to dive in. On top of Viper, Cavalier is in. Boyars could actually be a good decision here for LAN. Because Boyars are probably gonna eat the Berserks, and it turns out Berserks are doing a decent enough job against the Cavalier. Cavalier with +1 attack, Berserks have +2. But I don't think it's enough for MBL, and I think, as I said, one of the biggest bottlenecks for MBL is the speed that you can produce your Berserks at. And he's got 4 castles, but that's still... not sure if that's actually comparable to LAN spamming Cavalry from like 10 stables. We got a raid over here. We have Benchlight, thanks for the raid. Thank you so much. Welcome everybody from your stream. This is 2v2 World Cup semifinals. A lot of those Cavalry is very weak from LAN. Viper up to 98 villagers. MBL, he actually gets a castle up in the face of TaToH. Don't ask me how this happened, because now TaToH is under heavy, heavy pressure here. No Boyars whatsoever from LAN over here, and if they allow MBL to get the Berserk numbers up, they are just going to steamroll this. Because Berserks in good numbers will eat the Cavalry here. So you need something that deals with Berserks, but it's hard. Like, Boyar might be your best bet here for LAN, but it takes so much time to create them, and even more importantly, you need to deal with this aggression. Apparently there's a converted Berserk here by TaToH. But you know things are looking rough when you're trying to knock down rams with your converted Berserks. That ram has 4 HP on it. And I believe that TaToH is just slinging LAN right now. But here's the problem. Berserks, especially if they have Chieftains, they will eat the Cavalry. And MBL's got a huge eco himself to sustain this level of production. And Viper is slowly climbing back into this game as well. 40C boom right now for him. I think he's gonna get some conics out on the field. Very soon, or just sling MBL into even more Berserks, and oh man, I told you that you need to kill MBL before he gets to Berserks, because this is exactly what's gonna happen if you don't. They just absolutely eat everything, and MBL might actually carry this game once again, and I cannot help but wonder that I believe MBL is actually outplaying Viper in this tournament. Viper is playing good, but MBL is playing out of his mind in basically every game. And now, look at that. Soon to be siege ram by MBL. Eventually there is going to be a Drużyna champion tech switch from LAN. But that's way too late now. That's like way too late, because TaToH is gonna die. TaToH is 100 pop. He's gonna get steamrolled by Berserks and Siege Rams very soon. And Viper isn't about to die. Viper is still very much alive, has 123 villagers, and Viper is on the way to Imperial establishing trade. That trade could actually be disrupted, but I mean, TaToH is like Omega dead right now. He's not even close to being a factor, and like Berserks are bashing their way through the gates. Berserks will also have mobility advantage over the Drużyna champs, and it turns out that at this point, MB has 75 Berserks. MB is playing out of his mind in this tournament. And this is the difference. Like, we talked about this so much, that the team chemistry seems to be better for Spain, but the individual skills of these players are just better for Norway, and you can really see that here for MBL. Even if his teammates gets clapped pretty badly, he's there to carry the game, and carry the game like a madman, because he's gonna smash that castle with the Berserks. They have a huge damage output by default, they also have arson on them, and there is no murder holes on that castle. I feel like this game is over, because TaToH is gonna get pushed very, very soon, and soon Viper is gonna be a factor. He's getting Husbandry. I wonder if it's gonna be Conics, because he has free Creposts. He could already get quite a lot of Conics out. Or he's gonna go for probably Swordsman with Bagains, which could also work. I feel like they're anticipating a Drużyna champion switch, and one thing that you could do against that is go for the Swordsman of Bulgarians with Bagains, which gives them a bunch of melee armor. And no, Elite Conic from Viper. Interesting. Why did he go for infantry armor then? I have no idea. And why is he not making other Conics on the Creposts? Also no idea. But yeah, those are Drużyna 2-handed swordsmen now, but they're missing a lot of armor upgrades. This is tricky. Yeah, Berserks is fully upgraded. Berserks will eat the Drużyna swordsmen over here. They need a lot better upgrades. Even without that, it's not that great. For the dismounts, yeah, but you prioritize the +4 defense over upgrading the dismounted Conics. Dismounted Conics isn't really a factor. And that is a GG from Spain. MBL out of his mind, 85 Berserks. He's playing like a beast here. Really, Norway is playing well. Spain is playing great as well. But MBL alone, I would dare to say that MBL might have had his best tournament performance in recent years in here. The level of gameplay that he's showing off here is absolutely outstanding. It's just brutal. Also, exactly 12,000 gold that he collected. TaToH tried slinging land a tiny bit, but it didn't work out. Viper also slung MBL the same amount of resources, but it's Chieftains Berserks versus Cavalry, and Chieftains Berserks always win that. MBL just snowballing this game like crazy. Amazing game by MBL and amazing game by Norway here. Interesting decision for Spain to go for this strategy with the forward siege workshop. I guess what they wanted to do was very, very similar to what they did in the Scandinavia game. Just TaToH going for kind of a mangonel push, but there was a difference. In that Scandinavia game, TaToH was able to go for free TCs behind that, so he didn't fall behind that much in eco. Here, he actually fell behind in eco, and the thing is that they were just too slow killing the opponents. They went kind of Castle Age all in, with triple stable knights and mangonels 1 TC from TaToH, but they couldn't do enough damage, so they fell behind in eco quite massively. MBL was also the deciding factor in Battle of Africa. True, indeed, MBL had a good Boa too as well. Vikings, Bulgarians gone for Norway, and we're actually arriving to match point onto the home map of Spain. So Team Acropolis is what remains. And Team Acropolis will be Khmer now, because Cuman's Vietnamese will most likely be the civilization combination for Ghost Lake if we go there. So Khmer and maybe Japanese feels like the civilization selection for Spain in their own home map, which is Team Acropolis. Other side, Magyars is reasonable. And that would leave Berbers for Ghost Lake, which is something I like. They still have Burmese, and Burmese could actually work out nicely on Team Acropolis, because you might have a good chance of getting to good around by numbers. So I could see something like Magyar's Burmese. You need an Archer Civ for Ghost Lake, and you still have Malay and you still have Aztecs. But Aztecs aren't amazing as an Archer Civ. If you look at the stats, Aztecs have a pretty garbage win rate in the tournament. 3 to 13. That might not actually discourage any of these teams from using Aztecs, but I can see Aztecs not being used, to be honest. Because if you look at when it was drafted, it's also a sign that it's not really the favorite Civ here for Norway to use. So I can see something like Magyar's Burmese on Team Acropolis, and then Berber's Malay on Ghost Lake. Although you could actually flex around with the civs, so you could think about Burmese on Ghost Lake, because you have a pretty untouched fast castle. Like Burmese Berbers on Ghost Lake could also work. And what this would give you is a huge early castle age push. In fact, that might be the plan for Norway. If you do Berbers Burmese, you can actually push very heavily in a castle age, and that might be able to punish Cumans if they're booming only. So that could be something to pay attention for. Alright. Robo says the game has started, and we are gonna have a Team Acropolis over here. We have 1.5 minutes of waiting left from the Spectre delay, and Viper is gonna use Burmese over here with the Berbers. So the Burmese Berbers pick actually is there. It's just a matter of when they use it. Khmer Japanese from LAN and TaToH. What you get from Japanese here is basically a solid Archer Civ that is gonna have cheaper resource drop-off buildings, which helps when you are trying to drop a bunch of lumber camps on the hill. So the tree patches are fairly small on the hill, and you have to migrate from woodline to woodline quite rapidly. And because of that, you will have to drop a lot of lumber camps, and Japanese are actually pretty good at that. So that's my theory on picking Japanese. In the long run, one thing to pay attention for is that none of these two are Paladin civs, but Khmer are gonna have a much better food eco than Berbers do. The tricky thing is that Burmese want to go for a run-by, so Berbers don't want to go for melee cav, probably. Because if they do that, it's tricky. It's so hard to judge if a run-by is actually reasonable in like late Imperial. They're actually good unit, and it's very, very situational to decide if they can be countered by a certain unit composition or not. It really depends on execution. So the thing is that we're gonna have Norway on the north with Burmese and Berbers for Viper and MBL. TaToH is Japanese on the south. Alongside him is LAN as Khmer in yellow. So one thing that I would potentially assume could happen is that MBL might be playing for Camel Archers. And then Viper playing Burmese with a run-by. That could very well be a possibility. Anyways, one thing I always like to point out on this map is Acropolis, is that it is a slightly modified with some aesthetics from the original map generation. You have a real Acropolis over here in the middle with the ruins. And we are gonna have a ping here from MBL. I assume that that ping is telling Viper that he's got 2 of his gold mines on the bottom of the hill. That's very unlucky, look at that. This is Viper's secondary gold here, and this is Viper's other secondary gold. MBL's secondary golds are both here, and it's a quite bad spot because you can't wall on these dark patches. So you can't just say that, okay, I'm gonna wall it off like this. It's an awful spot for MBL. In fact, this is something that is gonna be needed to be TC'd over here. Not a great spot for those gold mines to be in. Anyways, on Acropolis, you start on a huge hill that's very, very well defendable. And from my experience in this tournament so far, players tend to just try to wall themselves around. You can't wall the back. It's specifically made with this elevation and this dark patch that you can't actually wall on it. And that is there for both teams, I believe. So if you want to wall yourself, you want to wall yourself all the way around using these little patches of trees. And let's see if any of the players are actually moving out to grab an outside wood line for themselves. Sometimes players move out, like to here, and grab some wood for them. None of the players actually have any back resources. Sometimes the map spawns in a manner that you have some forest at the back. In this case, that is not true at all. And one thing that you're gonna get from Khmer here, something I love on Acropolis, is that you can jump into houses, which gives you a huge amount of safety from early raids. Anyways, for now, everything seems to be rather peaceful, free on wood only for land. So as you would expect on such an open map, we're going to see a scouts play from him. And look at that. He's walling in the isolated villager and having the two villagers on the other side. That's basically the way you have to play this one. Alright, here comes the scout from LAN. MBL is gonna bring in that boar, I believe, or... that could be a house delayed by LAN if he sees that. He sees the foundation but doesn't really care about that. What he could care about is Vipersville over here, which could easily get killed. LAN turns back at the worst possible moment though. Oh, that's so unlucky for him. He could have actually tried killing that villager, but apparently that's not gonna be the case. Alright, so... TaToH, second boar is on the way, and pretty much everybody is just pushing in there. Very, very passive Dark Age from all the players until Viper starts chasing the scout of LAN here. It is going to inflict some damage on LAN scout, but LAN is just going to try and find a hill, attack back. Nothing really extraordinary happening over here. MBL with some early loom here, and then add some more villagers. So I assume it's just because he wants to make sure he doesn't lose villagers. And MBL is pinging something. I guess it's the approximate TC spots, but it's not guaranteed that they are there. In fact, that ping is way off for MBL. Let's see, scouts could collide in the middle. No one actually reacts, and MBL is actually pinging TaToH scout. First to fuel will be LAN. He is clicking up at a nice and comfy 19 pop. I think that's 19 pop with 1 deer only, so that's a commendable achievement for LAN. And one of the reasons why he's able to do that is because he's not going to need a barracks. He will go straight stable and go for scouts. Now, I don't like that they're not walling themselves at all, because the problem with going for a straight stable play with Khmer in 2v2 is that if scouts get into your eco, you won't have the chance to kill them with spearmen because you're not gonna have a barracks. So the only way the straight stable play works with Khmer is if you are actually walled, or you have the chance to protect your villagers, like jump into houses. That's not true for LAN, and that concerns me right now, because I feel like it's a little bit greedy and not very well thought over. Anyways, TaToH is gonna be walling himself off here quite nicely, and they could be walled, but if you compare the walls to like what Viper is doing or what MBL is doing, I mean, Norway is actually putting a significant effort into walling themselves, at least to a certain extent. And TaToH is gonna tower. Interesting. This is very interesting. And the reason why he's gonna tower is because Viper is going for what is gonna be an FC here, basically. 24. MBL is going for 22 pop scouts. I think that at this point, Spain is expecting MBL to go for an FC himself. Or, because MBL's uptime is pretty late. 22 pop is not ordinary for a scout's play. In fact, it might be just boom into feudal. And that is TaToH picking off a villager, or at least very close to that. Trying to get that kill in, not going to be successful. And it's actually forward barracks as well with the range. This is something that I think China did against Suomi. Suomi was playing with Kumans and they got punished pretty hard by that. And we'll see what LAN is up to. LAN is making scouts. So they're gonna go towers and scouts here. Remember that LAN is gonna have a great food eco because he's Khmer. So it might kind of be like, okay, LAN is gonna get some scouts on the field, but it's TaToH delaying, and TaToH being aggressive, trying to push both players, especially the one that is fast castling. And behind this one, LAN just going up to Castle Age himself with a strong eco. We'll see if that's the case or not. But one thing is sure, MBL is not making army. Viper is just about to reach Fuel Age here, so if these guys get through the walls, it could be pretty rough for Norway. Remember, this is match point, so it's a risky call to go for a tower rush like this in the decider game. One thing that Nico always says, for example, is that tower rush is always a strategy where it's very risky. It either works or it doesn't work out. And if it doesn't work out, you lose the game, basically. Now, meanwhile, LAN is actually working towards walling himself off, still making scouts, and they want to get through those walls as easy as possible. Nice counter tower from Viper, but it's going to delay his progress towards Castle Age and a run by to a point where they realize that, hey, that's Viper Stone, let's tower that. Viper is going to be able to counter tower it, that's for sure. But there is archers on the field, there is scouts bashing down the walls, and this is not going to be an easy defense for Viper, with MBL only building up eco himself. Now remember that if MBL is going for full eco approach, and like full greedy eco approach, then MBL is going to have a better castle age time than LAN, and MBL can go like triple stable knights, and just smash everything here. I like this play here for TaToH and LAN, because they're through the walls right now. The tower is up for Viper, but that isn't enough to kill this tower. Which means that if TaToH walls this tower in, Viper is not going to have stone income. Viper is going to have to move somewhere else to grab some stone for himself. I don't even know where he's chopping stone at. Also, he had to evacuate the wood line. Where is Viper getting stone from? And the answer is nowhere. The answer is nowhere, and honestly, this might be a little bit too greedy from Norway here to just go MBL full boom Viper naked FC into a run by, and like Viper is gonna have to take stone from the other stone mine on the other side. Viper is still doing a beautiful job defending, by the way, and really credits to him for that, but his castle age is going to be severely delayed here. MBL, I guess he is gonna go up to castle age, but they have to invest into so many defensive towers, and behind this one, LAN is completely untouched. In fact, TaToH is completely untouched, so you have to pay attention for this one, especially LAN being able to get up to castle age here could be something to pay attention for. Archers will deny the second layering over here. I guess Viper could just add a layer here, but he's just constantly running and running and running, and that's exactly the type of thing that happened to them on the Nomad game. They're just forced to defend. Like, Viper is not even close to getting to any run by any time soon. And if you look at MBL, he's about to click up to Castle Age. The tricky thing here is gonna be that MBL, I think, should go camels. Because, oh, that's so good from TaToH once again, just punishing MBL for that greedy, no military play. Basically, there's so... I mean, Norway has one military for each player, and that's the starting scout. They just went full greed mode, and I feel like Spain is punishing them pretty hard over here. In fact, Viper could be pushed away from the other stone mine. MBL's on the way to Castle Age, same thing for LAN. The real question is, like, MBL is gonna have to go for camels, because LAN is gonna go knights. So, yeah, that's probably gonna be the plan here. And for TaToH, he's still far away from Castle Age, so is Viper. But I think that the fact that you can already delay the Burmese player from getting to a run by is already a huge achievement. And look at the amount of defense that Viper and MBL have to do. Now, I would have wanted TaToH to wall this tower in, because right now Viper can pull villagers and take this one down, and he could get that stone mine back. But for now, I feel like this is looking decent. For Spain, they're still not fully walled. So the early knights from MBL could actually do quite a lot of damage, and I feel like once MBL is up to Castle Age, I feel like TaToH kind of needs to run away back at home. They're trying to bash their way through the walls here. MBL is just going to add a layer here and add a layer here. He might not even add this one, just use the TC to protect that part of his base. But truth being told, they actually allowed LAN to have a crazy boom here. Like, That actually is a late stable from Lando. This stable should already be finished by now, because you want to start making knights on 2 stables immediately. MBL going knights himself, that actually benefits Spain, because it's going to be knight versus knight fight, and Berbers have cheaper cavalry, but Khmer have stronger eco, so it's pretty much an even match here. And now the knights will just be able to keep those guys up for time being, especially with +2 defense. And as I said, Viper just knocked that tower down over there with the Voyagers, and TaToH is gonna rebuild that. I think TaToH needs to wall that one in, because the knights from MBL will come in and try to clean it up. Archers trying to dive past and just get some Voyager kills. Same thing with the scouts, just running around. Best thing that you can do here is try to pick off some Voyagers, especially some low HP ones over here. Viper, once again, he's getting close to clicking up to Castle Age. TaToH as well, but Viper is just not having access to stone right now to get a run buy-in. Nice trap from MBL, Scout still running around and being annoying. Knights are on the field from Lan, as he's gonna go for TC number 2 here. He's still open on the right side, something I massively dislike, but TaToH went for fletching, something that Viper doesn't have, and Viper doesn't have that gold mine either. So Viper is forced to use that gold mine at the back. Scout still running around, let's see if they can actually get a Voyager kill or not. They will see Viper moving towards the other stone mine, if they actually pay attention to that. So they're going to see that Viper is actually trying to get some stone for himself, but it's just so hard right now for the Snake to get enough stone. You want to wall those towers in though, TaToH. You don't just leave them there, because Knights can come in and take it down easily. Anyways, Knights are bashing their way through the walls of Viper once again, and Archers could actually harass the Wood line. Wood control is also going to be a question. And if TaToH is up to Castle Age, this is way better for Spain. And the reason why it's better is because you are going to have crossbows out that can deal with the camels, and they can also deal with the run-by. Whereas, like, the camels will be pretty much useless from MBL. Though you don't want to lose those archers like that, though, TaToH. That's very lucky that MBL didn't notice that, let's say. In fact, he notices it. Here come the scouts, and I feel like the archers are trying to make a run for a tower. Yeah, indeed, they're going to try and do that. And Viper up to Castle Age himself very soon, not super far away from getting a run-by out on the field. MBL is playing with 1 TC, by the way. Remember that behind this one you have 3 TCs for LAN, and that's huge. LAN is at 44 vills, MBL is at 42, not a huge difference. And LAN just lost a Voyager to something, I don't know what, because there is absolutely no counter raids over here. And TaToH up to Castle Age. He's gonna try to preserve those archer numbers, gets crossbow and botkin, but he's gonna lose a few Voyagers here. And this is getting rough for Spain now, because the thing is that TaToH needs to get good archer numbers here to really become a factor at dealing with the run-by, and it appears that we're just gonna have camels out for MBL. I like the play that TaToH is making, trying to use those crossbows to pick off some Voyagers. Didn't really succeed, and honestly, MBL has 19 military, a mix of camels and knights with +1/+2. LAN only has +2 defense and only knights and a lower amount of them. So that's not great. Also, as I said, huge mistake from TaToH not walling these in, because now the knights are coming and they're cleaning this one up. If these were stone walled in, the knights couldn't clean them up, and you would deny that stone mine for a little longer. Turns out, TaToH doesn't want to go for crossbows. TaToH wants to go for monks, and he wants to... Well, honestly, monks are actually adept at dueling with everything, but they train so slow. And, like, having 3 monks isn't going to stop 12 knights and 9 camels and a bunch of a run-by. I don't think, like, monks are good until your opponent has lower numbers of units. I don't like the monk decision here from TaToH. I feel like this should have been full crossbow from him. They're going for a pretty greedy approach, by the way. 3 TCs play, but they're gonna get overrun by MBL and Viper here. And that's exactly how you use Berbers and Burmese. A very aggressive Castle Age with a cheaper Berber cavalry and your run-by. I massively disapprove. TaToH not walling in the towers is a huge mistake, and the monasteries isn't really gonna be the way to go either. Because crossbows would melt the camels and crossbows would melt the run-by, and you would have the knights trade evenly against the knights. That's probably your best bet. That being said, Spain is actually having reasonable amount of eco, especially Lan. The problem is that TaToH, despite having 3 TCs, he lost 5 villagers on the front line, so MBL's eco is actually better than him, and Viper is also playing on 2 TCs, MBL is just on 1 for now, and frequent MBL thinks he's just gonna get housed. Alright, so what now for Spain? They're losing the monasteries, they have to go crossbows. TaToH, he is rebuilding the monasteries, going for more monks. No, monks aren't the answer, unless you have like 50 monks. But it's never gonna be the answer. Because there are just so many units, especially with the cheap Berber cavalry, that you can actually commit to any fight. Like, even if there are 5 monks, you are going to commit with 26 cavalry, because at worst you lose 5 cavalry. But your opponent's gonna lose 5 monks, most likely. And it's very unlikely that you're gonna get 5 conversions out of 5 monks. And here come the Arambai. Alright, here come the Arambai, and that's the other problem. This is why you need the archers. This is why you need the archers. By the way, yeah, MBL has a 30 kills, 2 deaths. You need the archers to deal with the Arambai. Because the Arambai will melt the melee units. Arambais will completely melt the knights here, and I feel like Spain is going to lose this game. And it's going to be a 4-2. Because now the Arambai will try and pick off the monks. They can just go hit and run, and if it's full cavalry, MBL can go full camel. He can just go full camel, and it's not like TaToH can field enough monks to convert them fast enough. Lan still has a good eco. TaToH's eco is evenly matched compared to the one from TaToH. But if you look at the military numbers, MB has 39, 31 for Lan as well. But Viper has 14 Arambai on the field, and the more Arambai you get on the field, the more dangerous they become. And that's the problem, that it could snowball very fast with Arambai. And you don't want that to happen. Plus, monks are moving a lot slower, so it is very, very hard to like chase down this army and actually be able to take good engagements. Because monks are just moving too slow. Like, TaToH is actually going for a sick amount of monks, but I just don't like this at all. Now he's going for pikes. And that's a problem. Because what are you going to do against the Arambai? You don't have anything against the Arambai. And this is the first time I see Spain making bad decisions, to be honest. They had some questionable decisions in previous sets, but for example, in the quarterfinals, I believe that one of the reasons why Spain was so outstanding is because they had an insanely good decision making. And now we have very, very debatable decisions by Spain. Namely, the fact that TaToH is going full monk and TaToH is going for pikemen now. Pikemen will work against the camels. It will work against the knights, but what are you going to do against the Arambai? It's not going to work. And especially now that we are going to have full camels as well for MBL. Whereas crossbows would eat both camels and Arambai. Viper has 2 castles. Worth pointing out that Lan is at 40 or Cavalier, or soon to be Cavalier. And I think that the grand plan right now is to just run into the eco with like 40 cavalry and finish things off with a faster Imperial here. And remember that it's a very well defendable map. Like, Team Acropolis is extremely well defendable because you have a nice little hill over here. And I feel like the original plan here now for TaToH and Lan is just to camp this hill with the monks and defend against this one and preserve that cavalry blob over here, get Cavalier. Now, if you lose this army, I think Spain is done in the tournament. Because the ecos are fairly evenly matched here, and the unit composition is, like, massively favoring MBL and Viper here. So you have to keep that army alive, get Cavalier, and then pray. That's basically the game plan. And you kind of have to cripple someone with all that cavalry. 87%, still far out. Even if you get into Imperial, you don't want to take a fight against 4 camels over there. But right now, MPL and Viper are just going on a full chase mode, and MBL is going into Imp here. There is approximately 3 minutes of time where Lan can take fights. He's gonna need Cavalier. Lan! What are you doing, man? That's not the way to play this one. He's waiting for +4 and Cavalier to come in, but he's taking so much damage on those cavalry units. Here comes another raid on the right side, but if MBL gets up to Imperial, he's gonna have heavy camo. Nice little trap attempt over there from MBL. So much damage is being done on these cavalry right now for Lan, and I feel like he moved out a little bit too early. They're trying to sandwich this army in here. Viper and MBL combined for 80 army. Lan alone has 31. +4 and Cavalier isn't in yet, and now it's like Lan is losing so much here just running around. He went out of his base way too fast. I mean, by the time he's gonna get Cavalier, he lost like 5-6 knights, and a lot of them are very low in HP. That being said, the cavalry could actually be inside the base of Viper, but heavy camo could actually smash everything here, unless TaToH comes in here with a clutch play. TaToH is close to Imperial. TaToH could actually imp himself and go for like ram and siege and just knock down the buildings here. Cavalry is going to outrun the Arambai for now, and MBL is going to take some losses on his eco. He's down to 75 villagers, lowest in the game. But he's actually getting close to Imperial with a bunch of heavy camos. Here come the pikemen. There is still no answer from Spain to Viper's Arambai. And Viper is going to have a huge amount of Arambai out there, but it's Imperial Age units against Castle Age units, and the Lan tries to dive beneath the TC, brings in the pikemen as well with his friends. Not a lot of upgrades, in fact 0 upgrades on those pikemen from Spain, and man, I don't see them being able to kill Arambai. That's the problem. No, pikemen don't kill Arambai. Cavalier don't kill Arambai. Arbalests do, and that's the only thing that we could see here. And now it's heavy camos for MBL. Pikemen will be nice and everything, but heavy camos will beat the Cavalier, and Arambai will beat the pikemen or the halberdiers. It's not gonna happen. And as I said, I feel like monks convert the Arambai. You can't convert enough here. Monks convert Arambai until there are like less than 10 Arambai. And boom, that's all the monks you have. Because you can't actually micro them all to convert the Arambai. And now the Arambai will dive in and finish off the monks. Like, usually what I'm saying is that monks are nice against like knights and camels and Arambai until you have less than 10. Once you have more than 10, it's over. Because once you have more than 10, you're almost guaranteed to get the monk kills, even if you lose like 1 or 2 to conversions. And as I said, as much as I praised the preparation and the game plan for Spain in the previous rounds, this game plan was a disaster from them. From the first moment it was somewhat questionable, and now you see TaToH going Thumbring. Now they realize, oh shoot, we're in trouble. We're in huge trouble because we have nothing that stops Arambai. That he shouldn't even have considered ever going for the monks or the pikemen. This should have been full crossbow play, because the full crossbow prevents MBL from going for a very, very camo heavy approach, and the full crossbow play also helps out defending against the Arambai. They went for 2 monasteries over here, didn't work out. And what did they get out of their monks? I mean, TaToH is still trying to get monks out on field. Are you really trying to convert units when the opponent has like 100 army combined? They can just run down the monks. It's actually a nice fight over there for TaToH. He's still believing in the halberdiers. But honestly, if they win this game, it's going to be the type of game where they won, but their game plan was awful type of a thing. MBL is down to 79 villagers. That's their only hope right now. The only hope is that they can overrun the Arambai with like superior numbers and then force the heavy camo to fight against the pikemen. There is going to be, however, light caps popping on the right side. Viper is getting to dangerous Arambai numbers, and if he gets to imp and he's getting close to getting into Imperial, he's gonna have elite Arambai. I think if Viper gets to elite Arambai, it's full GG. They have until Viper gets into imp to get something out of this one. And what that could be is a heavy push on MBL. Because Viper's Arambai are a little bit slower than the cavalry of Lan, so that's something that Lan could use, the mobility advantage over here. MBL is losing quite a lot of camos over here to the halberdiers, but if you look at the military numbers, I mean, Norway is leading in military numbers, and at this current stage of the game, they are leading in army quality by a considerable margin. Now TaToH is switching into Arbalest, but I feel like they're running out of time. That's my main concern. That being said, if TaToH can switch into Arbalest, they might have once again a moment to finish this game off, because one thing that Norway isn't going to have is units that can kill Rambai or Arbalest. Like, Rambai will not be very efficient against Arbalests. It's just not gonna be that great. That's a bad fight for Lan. He's going to take it because he's got the numbers, he's got the TC fire helping, but it's not going to be a good one. And now we have coinage coming in for Lan. So I think that this will be the moment where Lan maybe starts slinging some resources to TaToH and hope that the Arbalest play saves them. Because with Arbalest, you can kill the camels. With Arbalest, you can kill your Rambai. So technically, Norway has nothing on the field that can actually be a worthwhile opponent to the Arbalest play. There is some sneaky stables here from Lan, which could get in the way of Norway's trade. Spain isn't even planning to trade. So they know that he need to win this game very fast. That's a lot of Rambai, man. That's a lot of Rambai. And even without the Manipur cavalry upgrade, they melt buildings. But if Viper gets Manipur cavalry, they are just like Obsidian Arrow Orbs. Look at that. And that's the problem with Rambai. It's not like you can just fall back behind your buildings and walls and defend. You have to take fights. Fights that you don't want to take. And, well, for now, TaToH is going to start moving in on the base of MBL. But TaToH is 97 Voyagers. Now, actually, MBL is 97 Voyagers. TaToH is 120. So that's still good. But, I mean, camels are raiding. And this is one of those maps where you can't just chill on your hill all the time because you don't have wood. And if you look at Lan, he doesn't have wood right now. Lan has 30 idols, 105 Voyagers. Bad game plan for Spain. That's it. One mistake can actually lose you the game like this. Enormous, unthinkable mistake that you just went for a very, very redundant army composition, basically. Like, Halberdier and Cavalier is not something that you do. And there is a reason to it. And the reason is exactly this. When you have your opponent with Rambai alone would be enough to deal with the cavalry here. But especially if you have a Rambai, soon to be elite Rambai, they just melt any melee units. Let it be cavalry, let it be anything. What you need against Burmese is range units. Like the best, I think, against the Rambai, maybe Cav Archers, but Foot Archers, Arbalest are working just as fine. If you look at the Middle numbers, I feel like we're just one big fight away from Spain being out of tournament, and really it's hard to judge Spain because they had some great game plans that didn't work because their execution wasn't as good as the opponent's team. And now they have this one in a decider game. They make a huge mistake. I have to say that they made the biggest mistake of the tournament or of their tournament performance in this game. Spain has been a very, very consistent and extremely good and coherent team, but they, I think, made a huge mistake in this one, and you can see why. Where is the unit that kills this? Nowhere. Arbalest is just coming in for TaToH. Too late. Too far, too gone. It's just like game number 1. By the time they realize what's actually, like, they are in trouble, it's too late. This is exactly the same thing. By the time they realize that, oh boy, this is not gonna work the way we imagined it, it's too late. And I don't see Spain winning this one unless a miracle comes in here for them now. Because they're outnumbered 2-1 in terms of military numbers. They don't really have the control over the middle. And Viper's Rambai numbers are just gonna keep growing and growing. They have trade being set up. Spain is nowhere close to setting up trade. 0 gold for Lan. It's over. It's over. And I think I'm trying not to be mean here to Spain, but I'm sad to see them quitting like this. Because the biggest debate was, can the game plan and can the teamwork of Spain overcome the individual skill of Norway? That was the entire topic of discussions throughout the entire week. And whoever made their predictions on whichever team, like if you predicted Norway winning, you said that the individual skill is going to prevail. If you predicted Spain, you said that the teamwork is going to prevail and the game plan is going to prevail. Because TaToH and Lan have been amazing, coming up with great ideas across the tournament, coming up with very, very innovative ways of playing certain civs and maps. And it is somewhat disappointing that they are going to end their tournament in a game that is going to be lost on the game plan and not the execution. Spain has played this one very well, and there was a moment where it was 2-2. But it appears that this game plan was something that just didn't work out. Because currently, I mean, TaToH doesn't have the numbers. And even if he has, like, look at this. even the camos are cleaning that one up because they're so cheap that they can just afford to do that, and camos will always be able to chase down the cavalry here. So LAN is down to 94 villagers, and they're losing the entire right side of the map. They will be overrun by gold units at some point, because you won't be able to sustain producing arbs when you are off from gold. And they are going to be off from gold. TaToH taps out, LAN taps out, and Spain, who I think has had a very, very good run in the tournament and has been one of the most consistent and most brutal teams of the tournament, they have actually made this into a 6-game series. We had some very, very good games. Once again, TaToH and LAN came up with some great game plans for certain games. Nicely executed as well. But little details, like the game number 1, which was basically lost on TaToH losing so much to a Drush, and then the follow-ups. MBL playing out of his mind in the majority of the games was also clutch. And I believe this final game, the bad decision. This shouldn't have been a Pike and Monk play from TaToH. This should have been a Archer play. It takes more time for him to tech into Archers, so an initial Monk defense and then a play into Archers would have worked, but the Pikeman play is never something that you want to think about. The only way it would have worked is if Viper was slinging MBL, but that is not the motivation of this. You never want to use Burmese to sling the Berber player. You want to use Burmese to slowly get your run-by numbers up, because a run-by is amazing against everything that is not an archer. A run-by will melt pikemen, a run-by will melt swordsmen, it will melt siege, it will melt melee cavalry, camels, whatever you want. A run-by will destroy it if it's not an archer. And with that, Norway gets into the grand finals, and well, Spain is going to play in the third place match. Viper's KD and the building raised count clearly signals why a run-by are very, very dominant, and why it should never have been allowed for Viper to have a unit that you don't have a counter for. Also, Viper apparently did slaying MBL some resources, but that was probably just the initial stage of the game, because Viper still got up to 76 military count. 76 a run-by? I mean, even if MBL wasn't there, 76 a run-by would kill the pikemen of TaToH, or the halberdiers of TaToH, and the cavalry of LAN at the same time. 76 run-by is so strong, like that. And with that, that is the end of the 2v2 World Cup semifinals over here. Viper and MBL are going into the grand finals, and TaToH and LAN will be in the third place match. I'm a little bit disappointed to see Spain leaving, but I think they exceeded expectations, and people were talking about Spain like, okay, potential candidates for like quarterfinals or so, but they actually made it very, very competitive against Norway. But it appears the individual skill kind of prevailed over the innovative strategies and the team play of TaToH and LAN, and we're just seeing why Viper and MBL are individually top 5 players in Age of Empires. And even if they don't have a huge amount of team chemistry together, they're just so good players that even if the other falls behind, the other one is able to carry his team forward. Well played by Norway, and congrats to Spain. Spain still has the chance to grab the third place tomorrow, so that's nothing to be ashamed of. Third place in the world is extremely hard to grab, so congrats to both teams. And indeed, this is the end of the semifinals.